All right, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 891, The Absolute Degeneracy of Modern Writing, Part 2. This is from a video we covered just last week, and life got in the way. We finally got some people together, and my voice is not going, thankfully, so we can talk, and we can hear each other, and the volume's all great, and everyone can get along. So thank you, Aiden Paladin, for coming on one more time. And now we have LitDev again, back to listen to a woman complain about women's writing, which is ironic because it's usually women complaining about everything else except other women. So that's nice to hear. Always different to have a female perspective on what sucks in her world, which is also referred to as, what's her name again? Let me check that. Her name is Hillary Lane from the second story. And this video, as we said before, came out just this month, has almost 200,000 views. And we are covering the last half where we stopped, hopefully. And I don't know what more she can add to the conversation, or at least from her argument, because she sort of stopped with the quotes and the references, and she sort of went full on porn bad, writing bad, and that was it. We were just like, this is going to just derail the whole argument. It's all downhill from here. Hopefully not.
Well, it's poor quality porn. Let's give it that.
You know, a lot of these books, if I have like gone through some of them, not ones that she's referring to, but my mother's books and this and that, there is sex, but it's like so rare and it's so quick.
Yeah, smart, but that's the old generation of books. This is the new generation of this type of stuff, and that's on another level.
It is. It is.
That's the stuff you find.
Porn. It's just porn.
It's the stuff you find on bad fan fiction sites on the internet.
Yeah, but it's porn for women. So, which means that I think she mentioned earlier on in the video that some women are just like, oh yeah, I like it in writing because there are things that would be illegal if it was on video. And also, there's more of a story there, which is important,
right?
When women's fiction,
it's like 80% story, and the rest is all action, adventure, killing, and then some porn in there, and then some romance. I suppose that's the intimate part as well. So it's not just
as with visual porn, the story is the excuse to get to the next porn scene.
In some cases, I will admit that, yeah.
Except with porn for guys, it's kind of like I'm here to fix your pipes. Oh, I got some pipes you can fix, and then sex scene, right? But with porn for women, it's like we need way more than that. It needs to be way more story than that. There needs to be an emotional connection.
Yeah, the classic joke about porn here in Germany is from an infamous little skit of, why is there straw on the floor? I don't know. Let's fuck.
All right. Before we get started, I had 2 super chats I missed the last time right at the end because I was kind of exhausted and tired and all that jazz. This is from Frog Jupiter from 5. This is for Aiden. I don't know if this is on topic or not, but Aiden, what do you think about Anglo-Saxon England as the best example of a libertarian monarchy? The English king was too busy fighting off foreign invaders, example, the Vikings and the Normans, to mess with the native Englishmen. Prior to the Norman and Viking invasion, England was considered a very happy place.
Yeah, it was. And if you look back actually at least in terms of an easy metric to measure, because you can't really have surveyed these people in the past, just how many days off a year they got. People worked a very small amount of the year. They only worked during usually harvest seasons. Other than that, they had free time. They had certain jobs they would do. I won't go into it, but there's a lot of metrics that you could judge by that actually people in feudal societies would may have been happier relative to their technology level than we are today.
Yeah, but I would just want to counter that with, you have tons of housework that you then focus on in the winter, that you focus on then, and that is still work in a way.
It is, and you can also focus on child rearing, and therefore paying more attention to your children.
Cool. All right.
And making sure that they have. Yeah, sorry. I think there's good evidence for that.
That's good. I'm sure we're gonna get, if Frog Jupiter or other people are still on, they might throw super chats asking you random questions about the monarchy. So it's gonna happen.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that would happen.
I
have to keep it in too now.
Good. Okay. I did talk to one of we have a few female Discord members. I was talking to Sidar just a few days ago, and she was aware of Sarah J. Moss, whatever her name is. And her friend was trying to get her into these books. And there's a whole series called The Throne of Glass or A Court of Thorns and Roses. And there's a subgenre or a term they refer to as bodice rippers, because that's the elements of sexuality in these stories, which she said was no different than reading, let's say, a Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire series. It's just one of many things in these fantasy stories. So maybe it's different for other writers. I don't know, because again, I haven't touched these books. But if girls are into books and saying, wow, you're going to love this fantasy story, and yes, there's sex and violence and dragons and this and that, I'm okay with that. I was like, good for you girls. Go read the cool, awesome fantasy. Because, when I was doing English lit and doing creative writing, fantasy was sort of like, oh, not another vampire, werewolf, elven, dwarven setting. It's like, it's enough. We've had enough of this.
It's kind of what happened. It's what was it? It was mentioned in The Hero of 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell that it's in the section about rites of passage at the beginning, where if a man who does not go through the rites of passage, the proper ones, he can become a lawyer. He can become outwardly a success, but inwardly he's still a child connected to the adornments of childhood. And so that's what he'll do. He'll put down his stethoscope, put down his lawyering for the day, and then surround himself with childhood trinkets. And become too immersed in them. So that's like how you can have, technically speaking, like a neckbeard lawyer or something. It's too much, too attached to their boyhood. That's kind of what happens. We don't have a man go through the rite of passage. Now, women who don't go through the rites of passage and learn these things properly, they will gravitate towards the incubi, which take place becomes the. Comes in the form of celebrity obsession, obsession with celebrity men. But more importantly, and probably what people kind of like recognize better, is that they become obsessed with like werewolves and vampires and stuff like that. The monster, the beast, the unrestrained power of masculinity, the danger that they kind of yearn for. So it's kind of like these are all urges that everyone has. It's just that you have to learn to kind of control these urges. It's kind of what the hero's journey is about, maturity. So you have these instinctive urges, like going off the righteous path by following the alluring scent of a succubus. But you're supposed to be going like no, thank you, lady. I'm going to go continue on my righteous path and earn the true woman at the end. Which is why the woman is the prize when it's a man's journey, according to Joseph Campbell. That's what he told the students, and they got mad at him because it was an all-women's college.
Yeah.
And then he did all these lectures on the goddess, and then published a 10-year lecture series on women's heroes or women's goddesses in fiction. And everyone, wait,
that's how that came to be.
Yeah, no, everyone thought he was against women because he was married and had daughters.
Trying to be sexist.
Yeah, he was in part of a female college. What's we teaching?
He even asked him, okay, what's the role of women in here, though? I was like, well, the woman is the one who births the hero, the one who is worshipped by the hero, who wants to be saved by the hero, the hero, the person that the hero admires the most, and that was bad, apparently. Yeah, that's a bad role. Like, how dare you say that?
Yeah, unbelievable.
I remember reading The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and there's usually a reference. There's about, I think there's 14. I tried to count them. There's around 14 of him saying man or woman. Like he's always referencing the hero as a man or woman or female or male.
In the iconic work, yeah, he's like man or woman.
Yeah.
He constantly says it. The man or woman who has overcome their local limitations and stuff, because societal, cultural limitations, becomes a hero, which is true. In my latest video, I go over the Labyrinth, which is essentially a woman's version of the hero's journey, just tackling women's issues. Because according to Robert Bly, he's a guy who studies Joseph Campbell, kind of bases a lot of his work over the philosophies of Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung. Robert Bly would say that there are different traditions. Like men have their own traditions, women have their own traditions. It's just true. It kind of ties into the whole quote by Campbell, who says, women are not in competition with men, because they're not, because they travel their own journeys. As I boil it down according to the studies and everything, men's stories typically, what men gravitate towards is physical conflict. To boil it down to the most simple description, and then women prefers social conflict. So this is why you get when you read romance for women, it's more like the burning passions, the drama of the relationship, where men's romance does actually exist. It's kind of closer to what you get in the modern day isekai, a I was talking to this before, but like, you know, random loser from Japan gets hit by a truck coon and then goes over to the New World, and then he gets standard issue big boobed elf girl, loves him and is loyal to him and is in love with him and everything. And then it's not about the drama of the relationship in this case; it's about the drama of protecting her and making sure she's guarded and safe and stuff. And then she appreciates him. That's key. She appreciates all these things. So it's very different. It's very different what men and women are looking for, but it's because men and women have very different traditions and very different rites of passage they undergo. But with the Labyrinth, it's about social growth with the main character, where she doesn't really gain powers or a sword or physical capabilities. She does gain friends, which she doesn't really have in the real world. She does learn to make friends and to empathize with others. She makes friends with like Hoggle, the goblin thingy. I forgot what he actually is. And then she makes her with Ludo and Sir Didymus and everything. So she gets a gaggle of friends around her that she'd never had before. Then she becomes strong enough and charismatic enough to face down Jareth, who is an incubus, and then reject him, which is very smart. And that kind of comes from ties all the way back to Joseph Campbell's example of I think it's the Iroquois tradition where he calls it the refusal of the suitors, where it's the exact same scenario. This over the top, larger than life guy comes out of nowhere and tries to seduce the main character, and it's like everything she ever wants, but he's an evil sorcerer, and she has to escape later. And it's kind of how that goes. So yeah, the hero's journey does go over men and women. Joseph Campbell mentions men and women because men and women go through this journey of maturity together, but they go through their own obstacles.
So we both have to reject the succubi and incubi, which would be themselves considered immature beings.
Yeah, but traditionally it's how it goes. Now they can have other flaws, but the traditional flaw is the flaw of lust for everyone. I mean, there's pride as well, but it's so normal to encounter lust as a flaw, and that's the main thing you have to overcome. That it's in there. The woman as temptress is like the standard issue portion of the flaw in the hero's journey. Woman as temptress. Now, if it's a woman, of course, it probably will be man as incubus, man as temptor, but usually how that goes.
Well, in the end, every drive has to be mastered to not overtake you.
Right. This is kind of why the flaw, the trial of the flaw, which is usually done around the failures and obstacles and trials and failures, and you face your own flaws, try to overcome them and get stronger through these trials and tribulations. This is the part where it really makes and breaks a hero, because my theory is that this is a hero and a villain are exactly the same, except a villain failed his temptation test, and that's a big thing. So
that's a parallel to addiction, where either you are in control of it or it is in control of you. Who's the master and who's the slave?
Exactly. Kind of how it goes. So that's why it's so important for the hero to succeed his temptation test. And this is historical. This is in a lot of stories going back thousands of years. Do not succumb to your flaws. It's a tough thing, but if you look at the hero's journey itself, it's like this thing is necessary right before you go face down your greatest challenge, which is death and rebirth. That's usually where your challenge comes to place, and you then after you succeed that, you truly change, and so on and so forth. But that's kind of how that goes. You really like the facing off against the flaw, against your own imperfections, is the really big test before the big test.
Yes.
Would you say
from the hero cycle? Yep. No, that's just it. Yeah, that's the hero cycle.
Yeah. There's one question I have. Would you say it would be all right, or even good, to re-engage with your childhood trinkets through your children?
Oh yeah, because that's kind of part of it. Because the rest of the journey is you going back home with your knowledge to then teach the next generation. So using what you use to learn, what you use to gain wisdom and everything, you then pass down. You then will, of course, interact with and then use to teach the next generation. So that's fine.
There you have it, neckbeards.
that reminded me of a video I watched a few days ago. These I swear these two guys were gay. One of them's an actual doctor, like you talked about engineers and doctors, and they didn't let go of their childhood trappings. And they're talking about the Final Fantasy games, like 1 to 16, in explicit detail, like more than, because I've played most of them. I was like, I don't remember any of that crap. And they're going to so much detail, and they're making all these jokes. They're clearly very feminine. But the guy on the right is like this buff dude, and he's like acting really gay. And the guy on the left is like also acting, but he's the surgeon. I'm like, this is the strange. It's called, what is the worst Final Fantasy by a YouTuber called Tentacles. So I don't know if that's...
Of course it is.
I don't know if that's a run on the word tentacles or he's referring to something medieval. I don't know. Anyway, you guys figure that out for yourself.
Of course, two gay guys cover a guy called Tentacle.
Anyway, let's get on with the video. I'm glad we got all that out of our chest and we can talk about women's written stuffs. Here we go.
I like her humor.
Nothing. There are no resources to help women kick their addiction to erotic literature, at least none that I could find, and any woman who feels shame when reading this stuff is said to be suffering from internalized misogyny and is advised to focus on overcoming the stigma by, reading more of these books. Other women will...
That is horrible advice. Really.
It could be a form of...
That is equal to telling a porn addict to just watch more porn.
It could be a form of actually paying attention why you're watching more porn. It could be to desensitize you just by sheer force of watching more. You're going to be like bored of it.
That just wrecks your dopamine system completely.
I'm not sure that actually pans out in reality. Yeah, exactly because of the dopaminergic response.
And once your dopaminergic system regenerates,
resets.
you're still hooked on this behavior. So
the thing that burned it out,
back.
Right. So that's what creates, or what is theorized to create people's dependence on increasingly more intense pornography. Is that overloading of it, the dopaminergic overload, where you
That's exactly what gives you cooler brain.
Yeah, more and more stimuli or more intense stimuli in order to get the same response out of your brain from it. Well, so I don't think that's good advice either.
It depends, because I would say
that if I have someone smoke like a carton of cigarettes, it won't necessarily work.
Well,
get them off cigarettes.
Yeah, I see more as a roller coaster ride. So, this roller coaster is more fun than that one. It's like, well, once you've been on one roller coaster, you'll get the G-forces this direction, that direction. You'll get the loop-loops at this point in time. But eventually your body will adapt. You'll be like, okay, yeah, I get it. Roller coasters go like this. I can grow out of this. Or I've been on this thing 3 times in a row. I'm fine. I'm tired of it. So when a friend would recommend, oh, you really got to read this comic book. You really got to read this book. And you're like, oh, another piece of fiction from the fantasy genre. Yay. I can't, what's so good about that? And then if you're paying attention and actually trying to figure out why you're doing this, I think that, especially for literature, you're going to figure it out. You're not just going to sit there going, well, I like this equally, or I just don't know. I'm going to have to, I guess I'll have to read more Shakespeare. You don't just sit down and read more Shakespeare. You just can't do that. It's not
the problem. Go on.
Yeah, it's not something that academically or even just in time, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep doing this to figure myself out. You know what you like. You know why you're reading a book. And for literature, if your friends are into it, it could be a social thing, could be a book club.
Which it is for a lot of women with these book clubs.
Right.
They're pretty common, yeah.
And they
read all this pornography, though, essentially.
Well, that's what I mean. There is some in there, but it's not like 10%. It's like less than 5%. And that's even in the Conan books. Like back in the day, in the 30s, they had the Weird Tales books. And that wasn't just Conan, but that's where it got started. And yes, some of those books had some rape scenes, and some of them were called the culmination of a story. There was sex. I think it was Valeria, one of those figures. So it wasn't uncommon, but it wasn't prevalent. It's like, oh, fantasy. No one really reads. There's hundreds of Conan books. No one knows them all. So now it's just because it's the dominant factor, and now this person who is a writer is like, this is not good. It's now 6% of the narrative. You're like, ooh. So I want to know exactly what the problem is outside of there's too much of it for a narrative to work, because women seem to enjoy it anyway. And again, unless I see an inherent negative problem with these people, like they're just not interested in dating, or They don't affiliate with men very well. I don't know. I want to know the exact problems they're going through. Because with porn addiction, we know. With actual porn, we know what's going on with men. And that's why it's an inherent problem. With women, they like to read their smutty books. And sometimes these smutty books weren't very smutty back in the day. Now they are actual smut. So...
like just blatant, unapologetic smut books.
Yeah.
But also, I think one thing she did mention was that, people have called this out and have noticed this trend that younger women, and she says teenagers, but generally younger women in this generation, they are becoming increasingly more obsessed with severely toxic fantasy relationships, like incredibly toxic. They talk about like, I want to get this one because he's drowning the girl while he gives her back shots, like that level of toxic.
Well, it's building on it, which is, I mean, maybe it is in young girls and that as well, and that would be because of probably early exposure to what was normalized, and what was normalized when young girls, if they're teens now, were much younger, would have been things like 50 Shades. Now they hopefully wouldn't have seen that, like the film or whatever, but would have heard maybe older girls talking about it, or I mean that being obviously the most popular BDSM example. But it would make sense then why that would increase in intensity over generations, or at least the subsequent generation of women coming up is now, well, that kind of stuff, that's old. That's what old grannies, millennials read, and Gen X. I want to read something even more intense, right? It's passé.
Yeah, and sadly, the dopaminergic system in relation to sexual arousal, that does not work the same as with giving a kid a kilogram of chocolate until it barfs and then it never touches chocolate again. That doesn't happen. And in part because there you have a disgust reaction at the end, a disgust event. The desensitization with roller coasters also doesn't work because the need to reproduce is so deeply ingrained in us. It is literally what keeps the species alive. So it has to keep working, and thus, if you trigger the arousal system, this dopaminergic part again and again in too quick succession, you exhaust it, and that's why you need the greater stimulus again and again until you get into the worst gore imaginable, let's say, and it's difficult getting off of that then. That's the problem. It's a different kind of addiction in that sense.
Yeah, very, very much not analogous to roller coasters in that sense, because that is not like a core evolutionarily ingrained. I mean, it is as a species, it is our only drive, right? Survive to reproduce. And it's not just humans as a species, it's all species from the microscopic on up as pass on your genes. So yeah, it's that one's very difficult, particularly when there's all of these chemicals involved, to make it a pleasurable thing, right? So that we want to do it outside of our biological drive to do it. Then that's not like getting on a roller coaster, is it?
Well, the pleasure is evolution's trick to make us do it.
Yes, exactly.
And it sounds very, very mean, but if you really think about it, every other organ that we have, including our brains, our highly complex brains with its highly nonsensical ideas that it tends to breed up, is all just an extension to somehow make this reproductive system work and keep going. To the point where it backfires, when our brains come up with really stupid ideas and societal nonsense.
Oh, yep, absolutely. Again, I've been reading about all this.
Hey, let's invent the one-child policy. Yeah, that worked great, didn't it?
I said before we started, I've been reading all this research about sex ratios at birth, and you can find a lot of that stuff out of China and what that did longitudinally to the female population in China, in terms of their behaviors, which was a move towards sexual promiscuity. That's measurable. Because it's basically like, look, this stuff is so core that any slight variation in what humans are doing reproductively can have devastating effects that last for decades, if not hundreds of years, is my point. So that's why it's so core, and that's why you can't. It's not like riding a roller coaster.
And if you're autistic enough to read the I Ching, the ancient Taoist book of, well, not prophecy, but basically predicting the future, which is essentially just giving you incentives to start searching in specific directions, so that you start searching in the first place. Details. That for at least 4,000-year-old book already speaks of these mechanics, but wrapped in its metaphors of yin and yang and how they interact, and how when one is more dominant than the other, what actually happens between the, which is the male and female.
Well, I would argue that there is definitely a refractory period during any kind of sexual experience, as opposed to going on a roller coaster or going on any kind of amusement ride. So the body will have its periods of rest and excitement. And I don't know what women are going through when they read these books, but they must have some kind of exhaustion or boredom, because you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, even if it is sexual or based off sex or food.
But there are people who jerk off 5 times.
Oh, I get that. That's totally a thing. But eventually they will succumb to their humanity, which is sleep and exhaustion and a need for food and recovery. So they will be, hey, wait a second, I can't do this all the time. The same with actual athletes who say, I can't work out 5 hours a day. I need 2 days off.
That's an actual period of depression, as with overdosing on any drug, where your receptors are just burned out.
I wouldn't call it depression.
Well, have you ever been through a period of your sex drive being dead?
What do we call this in the literature? It's so after like the I guess it is kind of like a refractionary period. Excitation transfer theory. That's it. So excitation transfer theory questions why is it, of course, do people intentionally expose themselves to disturbing material of violence, of murder or whatever in films? Why do we watch unpleasant films? And one of the things that Zimbardo hypothesized about excitation transfer, and is borne out in the subsequent literature, is that because it's in this simulated environment, all of the excitement, positive or negative, that you take out of this stuff is still transferred into the real life afterwards. So because it increases what's academically called arousal, and I don't just mean in the sexual sense, although it can be in the sexual sense. But increased arousal doesn't just dissipate once you're done interacting with the material, even if it's just like semi-pornographic and she's not doing anything to herself. It's just the simulated romance experience. That level of excitement doesn't dissipate when you put down the book. It's maintained for a period of time afterwards, and can affect all kinds of things in your life because of the increased arousal. It increases aggression in males and in females, actually. And just all sorts of changes in behavior. But because the excitation doesn't just dissipate instantly, probably, and in women, not so much, because women don't have the same extremity of the refraction period, also in the sexual sense, that men do. So it actually could be potentially more harmful to women who become so wrapped up in this stuff that they're engaging in it constantly. Because they don't have that refractionary period. If it's just purely for the sexual reasons, if you think about it that way.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of women just, for some reason, and they're really not exactly well known in the world, they haven't gotten out and seen the world how it is, and they love scary movies because they can actually control what they're watching, and they end up being film buffs, and they're not scared of the scary movies because they know it's coming, they know what they've seen it before, it's not a big deal. But that's the thing they enjoy. They liked this. That's the idea of going to the cinema, is to see a scary movie, not to watch a Disney flick with your cousins or whatever. So it's kind of like that's all they know. And because it's so extreme, or was so extreme when they first watched it, they're comfortable with that. So it's not a big deal anymore.
I'm a huge horror fan, horror film buff. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally desensitized to horror content and media. Because it's cool to get scared. It's that feeling of excitation in a simulated environment, of an increased psychological arousal, is something that you want to replicate and you want to get, maybe not, I don't like to be jump scared because I feel like it's fake and it doesn't do anything for me. So I'm having a physiological reaction to something that didn't actually scare me. I want to be actually scared and made to feel uncomfortable. And yeah, that's a dopaminergic response as well in its own way. I mean, maybe it's not dopamine. I don't know what that is, actually. We're just having, it's increased endorphins. Surely.
Well,
So it's still pumping like the chemical things into you to, and I think it would be endorphins in this case, to deal with your increased fear. So it probably feels nice. I mean, Zimbardo looked at that, too. He looked at, like I said, Philip Zimbardo. He was the guy who did a lot of the research on pornography and research on horror. Those are the two things he studied predominantly.
Wait, he's the Lucifer effect guy, isn't he?
Yes.
That was
my academic great-great-grandfather. And by that I mean like my advisor's advisor's advisor, right?
all
Can you
right.
explain the Lucifer effect in a few words?
Sure. Who wants to do that?
Oh, I've not looked into it a whole ton. I know he's associated with it, but I haven't looked that up in years. What?
Oh.
So even I don't remember what it is.
Well-
that's a Stanford prison experiment, right? It's where he had.
Oh, was I saying Zimbardo? I'm sorry. I mean Dolph Zillman. D-O-L-F Zillman. I'm sorry. I got my two Z words mixed up. Sorry, I've been looking at research all day. My brain's not firing exactly. Not Zimbardo. Zimbardo is Stanford Prison. Dolph Zillman is the porn and horror guy. Different Z last name. My bad.
Yeah, it's the Stanford prison experiment we were probably going to talk about, but yeah, it's different.
All right.
Yeah, I just got them mixed up somehow. It's must have been because I was talking about Zimbardo recently. Yes, Dolph Zillman is the founder of media psychology, who predominantly studied pornography and horror. Not always at the same time, but they're actually highly related. So, for example, when a man and a woman go to watch a horror film together in the theater, the man will report enjoying the movie more when the girl he's co-viewing with acts afraid and seems afraid of the film, because it's a performance of sexual norm behavior. So he can act strong and perform masculinity, and she's comfortable to be afraid to get in a simulated environment. So, and women say that they enjoy a horror film more when co-viewing with a male who doesn't act afraid by it and who's stoic.
Now you know what to do, chat.
Go on a date with a girl who's like, I don't know, really chill, and see if she likes horror movies.
Well, you'll enjoy the movie less if she likes horror films. But it's just they're heavily related concepts, actually, it seems.
Okay. Chat asks, how do you explain people who play Pathologic then?
The game?
Apparently, I don't know the game. Probably a horror game.
I've heard of it.
I feel we can't answer that.
Is it a horror game? It probably is. Oh, it's 2005. Yeah, it's been a while. Jeez. Guys, referencing really old games, unless they're really like classic or like, Planescape.
It's like a whole series.
Yeah,
2, 3.
I don't
Marvel,
know.
But Smart, mentioning old games here is fine. We are all relics at this.
Yeah, but I mean, Planescape Torment, you referenced that. All right, let's talk about that for the next 2 hours. It's different.
My wish list. Right.
Yeah, I could also talk about Planescape Torment for about 2 hours.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
It's a Russian word for the plague. Okay, never mind. We're not going to go into that.
I've watched a playthrough of it, but and like a breakdown, but that's all. So I can't really speak to it.
All right, let's keep going.
Look, everybody on the
in
panel
this
says
endeavor. To this
play
end, there are romance
Planescape
book
Torment.
clubs with completely expected names in which the pursuit of women's fiction can be
Book
enjoyed
sluts.
without
Just
shame.
reading romance.
I read one account from a young woman who said that when she realized she was addicted, she sought help from a therapist who treated the matter as if it was nothing serious at all. No different from, like, a chocolate addiction.
That's totally normal. I mean,
The chocolate addiction?
well,
I think it's kind of where she's coming from, though, is that when men do, actually, she said, I think she meant this earlier in the video. When men watch pornography, that's a problem. That's kind of, she mentions that there's so many things out there for men. It's kind of where feminism has backfired, because now there's like, men are told they're the problem, so now there's a bunch of research to get to castrate men and to make sure that your sexual urges are evil, things like that. But also to help you get out of actual porn addiction, which is also some helpful stuff out there. But when women do it, because it's usually like written and stuff, usually because it's books, it's like, oh, that's sophistication. That's sophisticated
Right.
literature.
It's not dirty images. It's not
Right.
dirty cartoons or whatever, dirty video games, This is art.
Even though
it's hidden in hieroglyphs.
Even though some things in those books, as I've heard described by some people who have written and talked about this stuff, because this is interesting. It's way worse. You see in some of these videos that men watch. It's way worse. And then she mentions the video that one lady was like, "Oh yeah, I like the written word because you can do stuff that's illegal in video form."
Yeah, and that's how they also push some of this stuff into the schoolroom, because we certainly had literature like that in class that was presented as important post-World War II literature, but it was just a fantasy of the deranged author. And if anyone's familiar with the story The Reader, that was written by a German judge and sold to us as children as post-World War II literature when it was written in the 90s and was complete fantasy. They later made a movie with Kate Winslet, or the other Kate, I keep mixing the two up, where they put the ages of the old woman and the little boy closer to each other, but still far apart. But it wasn't at least a preteen anymore. It's just that the written word is just a way for these types of people to trick even children into having to read it beyond under the eyes of their parents.
And
sorry, I'm a bit difficult to put into words.
She mentioned that the whole feminism backfire thing also comes into play because some of these women are kind of noticing that these are kind of dangerous and that they are suffering from something, but because of the feminist ideal, it's treated as empowerment. Like, women expressing and exploring their sexuality is empowerment. It could not be evil or bad in any way. Only men can. If men pursue this stuff, is it bad? But women, no. And so therefore there is no real help or investment in getting women weaned off of this stuff. Only men.
Oh, of course, I can tell you why. Because these women, they want to be in the fantasy where they can have all these monstrous male figures that all lust after them and that they can lust with. While if the man engages with a fictional sexual encounter, that is that man being emotionally unfaithful to the woman who wants to have control. And since this is on a meta level, he wants the women are jealous of the men not looking at them but at other women, even if they're not present in the flesh.
Speaking of that, did you see that it was passed around Twitter, I think, where it was like the secret guide for hairdressers that if the hairdresser is a woman and they think that the woman coming in is prettier than they are and their hair is longer and everything, then they will cut their hair short so that they can be less attractive than the hairdresser, but tell them that it looks amazing.
Huh.
It got revealed and passed around.
Interesting.
Jealousy and sabotage.
Well, that's like Christakis and Fowler, 2008, their study on social networks, not like Facebook, although that can be involved, but actual social networks of friends. So if one friend in a social network, this is for men and women, but I think it's probably particularly pernicious in women, becomes overweight, the likelihood that other women in that friend group will become overweight goes up and up and up until all of them are fat.
Oh no.
And it's because of that oh girl, you look so good in that, and the reason is because it's to drag other women down. She feels less attractive than, so I will drag other women down to my same level so that it will increase my attractiveness perhaps relative to theirs.
And this
rather
is where
than
you get your
losing
answer.
weight, make everyone else fat, right?
Yeah, and this is where because it also makes it more permissible.
Mm-hmm.
They ask what is Lizzo in 1 to 10, and Lizzo's a 10, and it's like, oh yeah, it's great, Lizzo's a 10.
So it's permissible for me to gain weight.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that kind of describes one of my girlfriends, the tall, gorgeous, long-haired girlfriend, and like weeks later, she got her hair cut to her shoulders. I'm like, what happened? Oh, my hairdresser said it was a model look. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, sure it is.
Well, she lied to you. Because men love extremely long hair. It's just beautiful.
You shave your hair bald and shave off your eyebrows too. Like,
Exactly. That's the extreme thing that feminism does. It gets rid of the competition. It tells pretty girls, average and beautiful girls, make yourself ugly. And this explains perfectly why we had a decade ago at this point a certain Mrs. Sarkeesian push the feminism and tell all the girls how makeup is bad and how it's objectifying and all of this other stuff. While she, in all her videos, while she put on this Antifa flannel shirt that was hiding her assets, she still had her hair nice and the makeup on her face and the bright red lipstick and the big hoop earrings. She was still doing all of that, but she told everyone else this is super bad. And if she was off of those videos, she was at any presentation, she would dress fabulously and clothes hugging her skin. No problem. She was exactly doing that. She was making herself pretty while telling all the other women, make yourself ugly.
Yep. And it works. There's a certain amount of that absolutely has worked as we've borne out through witnessing styles and women have gone through in the last couple of years.
Absolutely sinister.
The other side turned out to be pretty funny too. When like Lizzo when she lost weight, or Adele when she lost weight. Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah,
traitors.
They send them death threats or not just. I mean, like celebrities always get death threats, but it's like regular people will lose weight on the internet, like e-celebs, or minor e-celebs will lose weight and get death threats.
I think it only happens for women. I feel like it only happens to women, or maybe it's like it happens to women.
No, because
if a woman loses weight, then she's in trouble.
Yeah,
right.
It's because the immature people, which you could say are the lesser people because they didn't grow up, are absolutely ravenous at any display of virtue, and losing weight is that. Because it reminds them it can be done, so I could do it, but I don't want to, so I'd rather destroy the person who is the better example. Because if the better example doesn't exist anymore, then I can keep being immature and lazy.
Yeah, and it is a difference between men and women. Men's friend groups, again, you're not going to get a bunch of hate from all of your guy friends if you lose weight. They're going to, or you gain more muscle. They're going to, be on your side and give you words of support and stuff. Women will do the opposite, and often in very backhanded ways that are difficult to even identify. But it's sort of like a constant pressure. More so of just snide, again, backhanded comments. Oh, I love how you'll just wear anything, that kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah, it's the classic meme of women compliments are always lies and men's insults are always lies.
Yeah.
To be fair, in men's groups, you will be made fun of for losing weight. You will also be made fun of for being fat. So.
But it's always in both cases. It's probably good natured, and it's clear that the camaraderie or whatever that's is genuine, even if it's hidden behind an insult. That's just the nature of it. But there's when women are doing that backhanded stuff, they mean it. It's not,
from personal experience, I haven't noticed the men making fun of each other when somebody lost weight. I have only ever seen people give compliments to each other.
It'd be like
finally, that's amazing. You got it.
But it'd be fun, finally you did something fat ass, joking around about it. But it's still encouraging. Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, that's probably in other circles. With the circles I'm in, there's the fat ass edition. I've never heard that one.
Well, now that we have drugs like
the insults there are the banter there is different. Maybe it's a cultural thing here.
Well, we have so many drugs for weight loss and decreasing blood sugar and all these things. Like now that
Yeah, so you can keep eating the other shit, so that you stay hooked on the on the chemical food as well as the chemical drugs, which all make you just pay more.
now that you have an excuse, I mean, you should be at least losing weight if you're still eating crap. You should be all drugged up and looking a little better than before. Oh.
Yeah. What our video woman here said last. She mentioned the therapist who took no issue with the patient complaining about, I'm reading this stuff, I feel addicted to it, I think that's bad. There is the possibility that she's talking to somebody who enjoys that thing herself. And have you ever talked about an addict of anything talking bad about it or making excuses about it when you say, I have a problem with the thing, be it alcohol, be it weed, be it, porn. They will usually, if not always, make excuses that it's not so bad or it's even actually good. It's any narcissistic abuse where you go through, where you go to, if your therapist is a narcissist, for example, and you complain to your therapist about the narcissistic behavior of one of your abusers, your narcissistic therapist that you don't know yet is a narcissist will, instead of being compassionate, notice, I am guilty of this or that behavior too, but since it's a narcissist, I only ever do that in justified manners, so the person doing this to my patient must also do it in only a justified manner, because narcissists always project. So it must be the fault of the patient, and then the therapist will, or it could be just be a narcissistic friend, will then gaslight the patient about the behavior and play the Darvo game for somebody that the therapist does not even know personally. But since it's just a projection of the behavior or the mirror of the behavior, the negative behavior, it can't be bad because I engage in it, so you should too, or you should be fine with this behavior.
There's that. There's also just Occam's razor that porn addiction has only recently been added to the DSM, and if you look at the description of it, the kind of behaviors that would be described by porn addiction are very masculine coded, right? Not being able to put down your literature isn't going to necessarily read as porn addiction in the same way that a guy who can't stop jerking off would report to a therapist. So it's at this point also just the fact that it's not well understood in the psychological literature.
Yeah, it depends on
you maybe that point may be completely true, but I think since this topic specifically is so widespread among women, the reading of porn, that also checks out.
It depends on who the therapist is and what their discipline is. Most clinical psychologists will bring up various studies and talk to the person how this works in biology. If it's just seen like just as a whatever, just do something else, it's probably not the best person to talk to. So there's so many options for therapy.
You talk about how therapists ought to be. I talk about how a lot of therapists, at least in my area here,
okay,
are.
Well, I went through this. I've talked to therapists. I've did marketing for this one group in Toronto that they do every therapy imaginable. So it's like, okay, if you go to them with a problem, they probably have one of a dozen different people on staff ready to go. So it really depends on who you go to and where they got their discipline and what kind of treatment they have in mind. Because stuff like this, we talked about this last time with the behavioral learning theory versus the rat park theory. So because it's non-empirical, because it's behavioral, there's already stuff in place to prevent things like negative reinforcement and other activities that are more positive for you. That it's easy to monitor, it's easy to test, and they can go through therapy instantly. It wouldn't be complicated. There would be no unnecessary like breathing techniques or meditation that even if it was necessary, it wouldn't be hard to implement. There's programs for that. You start off with a survey, you write it out. The guy figures out what you've been going through, and they see if it's a problem or not. So it's very like, oh, you have an issue, great, we'll talk about it for a good half hour, and we'll have you do a test, and then we'll see if you need therapy. So anyway, that's just me being a dick. So yeah, make sure I have everything. It's like, oh, that's not a big deal. Come on, guys, chill out. Let's keep going.
Pardon me, appreciation of female empowerment and whatever various other hot words are part of the current feminist lexicon. If a woman were to express discomfort with the proliferation and increasing intensity of sexually explicit material in women's fiction, she is painted as an enemy, a prude, or, my personal favorite, a slave to the patriarchy.
Oh.
They'll say it allows women to explore their sexuality in a safe space. I'm pretty sure you could also say that men on the hub are exploring their sexuality in a safe space. I don't know. To which women will often argue, well, that kind of content, the stuff on the hub, is unethical. But that erotic literature, if they even concede that it's the same kind of content, is somehow ethical. Meaning that, I'm assuming... No,
it's not the same. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not the same. It's very, very different.
Yeah, I mean, inherently,
actors or
pornography. You need. I mean, typically speaking, I guess there is solo stuff, but typically speaking, it involves two people, at a minimum. Sometimes one, I guess, but authorship is done exclusively by one person. So I'm not sure about the well, ethics with it. Maybe if we talk about legality, if it involves underage, yeah, but but outside of that,
yeah,
it is just one person writing something.
Yeah, you got to go back to the 30s and 40s when they did these types of stories or elements of stories in fantasy, like Conan, and they were published, and the covers were explicit. Some of the original covers were women. Who I remember this from high school. My art teacher was talking about the Conan series just because. What the hell's that guy's name? The guy who pretty much got Schwarzenegger his job, because he would paint stuff like for Schwarzenegger on the cover. Like, oh, well, I used Schwarzenegger to do the Conan series in the 70s, so they got Schwarzenegger to get one of his big breaks. But yeah, like those covers sold. That's like we could talk to Dunn. I haven't talked to him in months.
Frank Franzetta? You mean
he was the biggest? No, it's another guy. It was a Mexican guy, Boris Valero. Vajero.
That guy.
Yeah, like he's the one who did the
Vallejo.
I can't pronounce it. I don't know. The guy who made the Conan stuff, like the big dudes, the muscles, all the glistening sweat, like that was what Conan was known for. And I bet if I talk to Dunn, who's one of our resident fantasy authors, he does other genres, but that's what he's mostly known for. He would love to get a Boris or a Frank Fasano or any amazing author who did classical painting or oil painting to have really realistic art on his cover. Like that would be amazing, and that would sell. So it's kind of like you want to sell your fantasy, and with it you'll get. And some of the Conan, some of the Conan books did have sex, sometimes at the end, sometimes throughout, because we're talking about Bronze Age. Conan. Yeah, it's whatever. There's violence and there's sex and there's horses and the secrets of steel.
Robert E. Howard is like one of the original canceled authors because the same stuff they're doing to people today they did to him. Like they said he had like a little dick and stuff like that because he liked guns or something, and he was like a predator.
Really?
Because a lot of his books had erotic elements in there. It was they had like women and strong men and beautiful women and then erotic elements. It was too much for them back then. Also, he was a little bit racist, considering by the grounds of today. If you look at
that's everything.
Yeah, but he was like really. What described him in the commentary, what described his views on race was like it was more about where you came from rather than actual race. So it was like that sort of thing. But if you look at his if you read his stuff, and especially if he goes to Africa, it's like okay, well this is interesting. This is it. Especially like the Veil Lost Women had me laughing quite a bit because it's like Conan is allied with these Africans, and then oh my goodness, they have a white woman captured. It gets pretty funny, but But Robert Howard underwent a lot of ridicule from the media and everything because of his stories, and they did the same thing to do today. They tackled his masculinity. They basically they call him an incel. If they had the word incel back then, they would have called him an incel.
I would be happy with a Therese Nielsen cover for my book. If I ever write it, keep bugging me.
I do remember stuff like that, even like Wizards of the Coast stuff in the 80s. And you'd see these really gorgeous looking action scenes of a wizard and a dragon or Dragonlance or any of these other books. And you want that. You want to show your readers that this is what this book is about. So having muscle-bound barbarians running around with scantily clad women or trying to save them or trying to fight with them, it's like, yes, that's what I want. And
which is all of pulp fantasy.
Yeah.
So do I get pulp fantasy or do I get the Lord of the Rings stuff, which is all
that's good too.
More noble?
Yeah, that's fine too. But like, get what you pay for. If there's sex, say so. Make it NA or NR18 or a 17, whatever the rating system is for your country. And
make it a Man-O-War cover.
And that's fine. And that's the rating. Great. We know that we put that in the glass cases, and we can call over the person to unlock it, like we're buying a $90 bottle of scotch or something. It's like, great, yeah, we can do that. It's not a big deal.
Were harmed in its making. Be that as it may, the making of the explicit content is a separate issue from its consumption. I'm sure you could find an ethical and environmentally friendly way to make heroin, wouldn't make it a good thing for me to consume it.
Out of all the drugs, I'd say heroin's the least damaging and least addictive, but that just back to
the withdrawal is pretty bad. The only withdrawal I've heard is worse is from an SSRI called venlafaxine. Which we know because heroin addicts that got off of heroin also were on venlafaxine, and they said venlafaxine is worse.
Okay.
And I will believe
I remember having this conversation with my friends back in psych, because we were talking about all these drugs like downers and uppers and stimulants, and
I was talking to taking that stuff. Don't.
No.
There's no benefit, and the withdrawal, getting off of that, even on the lowest dosage, is excruciating.
Uppers, downers.
Yeah, barbiturates. What they do. What exactly is the damage? Like cocaine is like one of the worst things you could do, but heroin, it's like you can get off it. There is a refractory period where you're sort of uncomfortable, but you're not like. You didn't damage any neurons. Like, you didn't break anything. It's just like your body wants it, but you just don't give it. As opposed to...
Now we know what your drug is.
Yeah, I guess if I ever want to try drugs. Oh, boy.
A lot of talk about how social bias prevented women from enjoying romance literature. Well, now the social moral landscape has shifted again. If you're a woman and you're not a proud champion of smut, then you're... I
gotta talk to my girlfriends about this. Like, hey, what's the latest romance book you really like? And tell me why.
Hold on, wait a minute. So I don't think she's wrong. Of course, there was some stigma, but there was stigma against men too reading that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
You're not really, not considered a celebrated gentleman for reading pornography or viewing pornography.
It's just become more socially acceptable across the board for everyone to look at smut. I mean, it's been hyper normalized.
Well, we have the internet, and even before the internet, we had bulletin board systems, and there was porn, there was sex on that as well. I remember that in the late 80s, early 90s.
These fiction sites already existed in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much like one of the first things people used the internet for, besides to communicate, was to share pornography.
Share porn, yeah, exactly.
First were cat pictures, then came the porn.
And so, nothing against her. It's just like it's more of a critique of like the feminist narrative that the stigma against viewing pornography was a woman's issue. It wasn't. No one was celebrated for viewing pornography. It was okay for nobody. Okay, if you read Playboy. You could, I guess, as a man, but you're gonna get judged for it. Like, haha, what a loser.
Yeah, even if men did it, they didn't admit to it.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of a shameful thing. You don't just go around, hey, I look at the pornography I view.
Yeah,
that's why the whole thing that went, I read it for the articles. That's why that phrase exists.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the kids, if not through an older teen, they would instead find the magazines from their fathers and then hide those under their beds.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that I had to explain to people, even in my creative writing class, because we'd always laugh at the Harlequin romance stuff. But, even my teacher got people submitting porn because they wrote sex. And that's totally normal for him. So it's like, okay, well, you have to learn what the standards are. There's not much to talk about. But it's like, why does this work? Why do these descriptions work more than any other narration in a non-sexual context? Like, why does this shock you? Why do you do that? And it's the same thing when you're watching an R-rated film that's slow pacing and all of a sudden there's a nude woman. You're like, boom, it shocks you. Or a jump scare in a horror film. Why does that work? And how does that affect the narrative? Is that what you're here for? Is it a one-time thing? Is it like this hammer? The director keeps hammering he sees everything as a nail in every other scene. Like, what's the point at that level? And this is what I was talking about last time, was about AVNs, because the best AVNs I've played, and people have recommended them to me, and I got 14 of them free like 2 weeks ago because the whole PayPal thing with Steam. So GOG went off and gave you 16 games for free, and one was Postal 2, and one was some other really violent.
Postal 2.
Yeah,
That was
Postal
good.
2, Agony was the one in hell, I think, and the other 14 were all like either anime porn games or Western porn games. I'm like, what the hell? They're free. I'll check them out.
I love
Any sense
Postal
of
Yeah,
2 so much.
yeah. Saw it
I
as
love
well.
Postal 2 so much that I think it subconsciously influenced my design for my comic book character.
Yeah.
Because I released it and then people were like, "Hey, this is the guy from Postal." I was like, "What?
Really?
Oh, it is the guy from Postal."
Oh no!
It's so close together. Like
You-
they're very different people, but like it's the look.
That's funny.
Close.
Now I gotta go play Postal, see which character it is. Oh, that's great.
It's like I love Postal 2. I like playing that game a lot. It was so funny.
Well, I will say the games that I do know that were the biggest and most popular, they have like hundreds of thousands of downloads, and the guy makes hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. He's like the top 20 patrons on Patreon or whatever. It's not because there's porn. Yes, that's obviously the thing that gets your foot in the door for the guys, because this is mostly a guy audience. It's the story. It's the characters. It's their backstory. It's why they are the way they are. Not because they're, I don't know, like prancing around in the nude when it's summertime and it's what's it called, a college life subgenre or whatever that is. It's a slice of life, but it's college living.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like frats and sororities and avoiding the profs and pulling pranks on the jocks and all. It's this Porky's style of humor from the 70s. And it's not because of just that. Like, that's the comedy fun. It's the drama. It's why does this character stand out? Why does the stripper have a heart of gold? Why does the teacher want to fool around with an 18-year-old? Like, what's the story behind that? And a lot of the better games have very, very, it's like 5% of the story is even sex. The rest is all tragedy and drama and backstory and losing a loved one. And one of them is the best is about suicide. And that's because that's what happened to the author and one of his family members. And they'll mention that and they'll warn you. It's like, do you want to see the scene? Yes or no? Because it's heavy. And you're like, whoa, yes. And it talks about the character who is a potential love interest committing suicide. So this freaks out some people in the audience because they're used to, porn. I want my porn to have porn in it, as opposed to I want my characters to be likable and believable and real, and they could die. Which is exactly what you want in a story. This is the golden rule in all stories. You have to kill off your loved ones. You have to kill off, what is it called? Killing your children? Or there's a certain word for that.
Oh, God.
Killing your precious ones? I can't remember the exact.
Kill your darlings.
Kill your darlings. Thank you. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And it's how you do it that matters. And if you have stuff like, well, this is a potential husband or a potential wife or a potential lover, and it's a fated thing to be, or maybe you didn't give enough attention to them in the beginning, and they kill each other off. So it's like, wow, that's stakes. That's why you read these stories, even if they're just slice of life.
Yeah, and as you said, men, or in short, men also need story and character.
Yes.
And there's I was completely shocked by this, overwhelmed, you could say. There are indie porn games that also they are massive. And it's also 95, if not 99% at this point, gameplay and story and characters, and then there's a sex.
Yeah.
Because these are passion projects that just keep growing and growing, and even for the developers, they are still there. Okay, this next section will also have a scene in it, but overall, it's just this world growing and the story growing.
Yeah, we made the joke about the porn directors in Hollywood having more attention to detail than actual directors doing DC or Marvel because they care. They actually, it's like, oh, I have a limited budget. I have to make this count. I got to make the suit look good. I got to make the actor look good. I got to make the special, like as shoestring as the budget is, those sets designs and some of was it the Batman one? It was like, wow, that looks, Hollywood level. So they actually care, and that's why you appreciate it. It doesn't matter what the genre is to me. I want to know the craft. I want to know what it takes to make those things and how they got these people. And these are just people doing their job. They're like everyone else.
And here I think we have the inversion towards current Hollywood and US comics, mainly Marvel, DC. In which you have these incompetent narcissistic creators who do make it for the porn, not for growing the story and the world, because they only care about their self-inserts having and their arousal effectively, and that's why we get this ever worse stuff.
Well, that's
part of their arousal they get from their political fetishism.
That was a story I talked about with Kevin Feige. He doesn't even read the comics. He hires someone else, the assistant, to do all of them, and then the assistant plans out the movie based off story beats that would be interesting to the comics.
Well, that's an extra problem.
Yeah.
Verhoeven did the same thing.
Yeah.
Also, I know that I think for Secret Invasion, they kind of purposely sought out people who have never read the comics, so that they wouldn't.
Yeah, they were proud of that.
Right. Yeah.
It could work if those people are like hardcore like cinematographers or writers, and they want to translate from comic to realistic adaptation. That could work technically, but
technically. But they have writers who also have not read the comics, and that's apparently part of their bona fides as well. Is none of us have any actual, so we can just kind of make our own version of it. At least that's been the case with several things.
Yeah, which effectively makes it anti-fan fiction.
See, that immediately makes me think of
because it's not fan fiction.
The Cowboy Bebop adaptation to live action. I was like, oh yeah, something really missed in translation. If they screwed up these characters, they gave voice to Vicious, they gave voice to Julia, they gave them screen time. More than a few seconds, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's like somebody who doesn't care about the actual thing, about Cowboy Bebop in this case, explained that the existence of certain characters, but not necessarily their attributes, and the rough ideas of the story, of their interactions, to an alien who doesn't know what cinematography is.
Yeah, it's like taking, I don't know, an operetta from Brahms or Bach, and saying, let's do a live action adaptation, and saying, well, I know guitar and I know 4-note form, I can do that. It's like, no.
Which is a lot of, you can't even say modern because they've been doing this for 50 years, theater reinterpretations by your local director who thinks too high of himself. That's literally my theater experience. It's just atrocious. That's why I want to go to the theater more often, but it's just always this crap, and I can't stand it. I want a proper classical original display. I want to voice.
Well,
I've got a lisp lately. I want to see a proper a version of Shakespeare for once, not some modern interpretation with electric guitars.
Yeah, when you have the actual director-creator still alive, and he's like on the phone, it's like we could just talk to him and say, sir, how do we make this? And it's like, oh, and he will give you the time of day. You don't even have to pay him. Shinichi Watanabe would be like, sure, why not? Let's see it work. Imagine you wrote like, I don't know, Lone Wolf and Cub, and someone came to you, let's make a live action, and they did do a live action. You'd be like, yeah, I'd love to, like, that's a great honor. Let's do it right.
The movies are great. The old movies are so amazing.
And they're short. They're not like, the whole canon.
Weren't they 2-hour things?
I thought they were like 40 minutes.
I never got through the whole story.
Low of a Cup is really long. It's a really long.
Yeah, I know. But
I do like the movies where he gets the machine gun. That's pretty cool.
they got
That's
to
a
that,
sudden up in threat level.
it was like a fan gun, and I don't know, it was a bunch of weird.
Yeah, 5 movies. For 5 movies, everything's down to earth, and then you get the hidden machine gun in the baby carrier.
But the manga that did the machine gun story was like, wow, like what a great blacksmith story. And
It was a cool, really cool story. And I don't think it was a machine gun in the manga. I think it was like a shotgun. It was like more like a shotgun.
It had multiple barrels. Yeah, it was like a fan sort of looking, just blasted at this entire.
In the movie, it's just a straight up machine gun.
In the movie, it comes out of nowhere.
All
It's
right.
like, wow. When's the mech coming?
Yeah.
It just has it in the movies. It's like, okay, oh my goodness, a big army of Yagyu assassins. All right.
Basically, Raiders of the Lost Ark on steroids.
That's pretty much what they did with the last chapter of the actual manga, but that's a different story. Anyway.
Before we continue, she said something very important before we stopped, and thus we have to ask the question. Chat, are you champions of smut?
Smut or smud? What was
Smud.
Oh.
She said it with a T, but obviously we have to adapt it.
Do you like the porns? Well, if anyone's a champion, you can tell me to open a window. It's getting really hot in here.
Yeah, it'll take a while until chat answers.
All right, let's keep going.
We can continue.
All right.
In general, though, I think the so-called from the bias surrounding all commercial fiction. I also don't think that's done that much to stop women from mass-consuming romance novels. Champions of romance novels will present the acceptance of smut as crucial to female empowerment and independence. This is categorically false, and in fact, I think I've shown how the opposite is true. But women will nevertheless be banished from female society by other women if they dare to disagree.
There's plenty of groups of women that will not chastise you for liking the same thing they like.
Yeah, they might if you if that makes you a competitor.
Maybe. I mean, in my experience, not so much. I mean, yeah, women just like men want to find other women who like the same things they do.
Yeah, and in a book club, everyone gets their turn, and it's sort of like you can say whatever you like, and it's like, yeah, that's interesting, that's weird, but I don't agree with you. That's fine.
Yeah, not in a book club, because that's what gushing about a thing, not about being better at something.
Okay, well, some book clubs are about writing as well, so you read the thing, and then you do your own, like, I wasn't so inspired, I did my own version. So that does happen. It's also
I've had cinema about a circle of women presenting to their circles or to their covens the porn they wrote.
That bad, huh? The covens.
I mean, I've seen it happen. I had a friend who wrote fan fiction in high school. Like I was talking about it, and she would write smut, and she would show it to all of us.
That's common.
Yeah,
that's the succubus trying to turn you into her little succubi novices.
Well, this is the thing that I mentioned about my creative writing teacher is he would get so much of it, and he'd rather like we would do it with ourselves as opposed to just submitting it as work, because unless there's
that must be so awkward. Why would you do it? Why would you submit your smut to a teacher?
Okay, when you say smut, to me that just means one genre with one topic, right? People would submit their video game ideas, and they would literally have like 34 exclamation marks to have an attack sound, as if this is like we're trying to learn grammar. And we're just like, what are you doing? Like screaming would have like, like, it's just like, dude, that's like 2 lines of the word,
It's more about the smut. Don't get me wrong. I submitted my Star Trek fan fiction to my English teacher in high school.
That's cute.
I did mine in grade school. So grade 5, look out. Yeah, we were all there.
I was made to read the diaries of a girl, and it was full of this stuff. And why do you make me read this?
Yeah, some of it's
If you have to trauma dump this kind of stuff, at least have the decency to tell it.
Yeah, it really is like a growing up to learn to write. And this is because people treated this as like a business English, so it's just another credit. But other people who actually transferred to English during this, because this one teacher we had was just so good. He was a PhD from the University of Alberta in English. And he would write on the board, there's actually 14 tenses for time. And we had this guy's like some weird wizard like talking about time. And we're like, what the hell are you talking about? So, just that alone, like the whole focus, like 80 to 90% of the work was just grammar. So once you got the grammar done, he wouldn't care if you were talking about smut or fantasy or vampires, so long as it read the way it's supposed to be written. The material, the content itself was like secondary to him. And that's how he wanted us to think about writing. You could have no skills, no creativity, you could do the same tropes, so long as you made it clear and understood why you were describing the labia in this manner in such detail. Like why are we focusing on the vagina so much? Like what's the value? Like he wanted to know why you're doing that, because if it was grammatically perfect, it has a reason to exist in a story about sex, for example. So that's what he wanted us to question, not the content itself. Because you could write whatever. He was very open about, write about violence, write about personal things, go crazy, so long as if you're comfortable doing it. If not, do it with your friends, and if not, just don't even submit it, do your own thing. But that's a level of freedom we had. So I kind of have that with gaming and media in general. It's been my open mind and sort of look at things. So when she talks about smut for women, I'm like, yeah, that could be a problem. But it's also, are these women, do they have social lives? Do they talk about this? Is it just their little, as you say, the cabal or their coven, just sort of like typing on their keyboards and keeping it to themselves in this creepy, weird feminist way of, men are evil and they're not my fantasy werewolf boyfriend or whatever.
I agree with her on the moment on that topic because, as she said, it's like a feminist backlash, like a feminist backfire. Where on one hand, men are discouraged from watching pornography, even by like if they're like little taters or whatever, they follow Andrew Tate. They are like he's like, do not watch pornography, go after real women, things like that. He even like the manosphere guys kind of chastise you as a man for watching pornography. However, on the other hand, again, you have like if a woman likes all these literature, smut, and everything, and then there might be, if there's a problem or she gets like too goes down the dark path too far, because that's also mentioned of, it also happens to men where it's you crave more and more deranged, darker things. And so you get to, I guess some people get to a point where they're craving like this horrendous crap, and some people might see that's a problem. But if that happens to men, there's a lot of things you can go to, a lot of support groups, lots of like help they can turn to, leaders that will say no more pornography, none of that stuff. However, with women, it is if they find themselves in that situation and they kind of like have a crisis of conscience, like this, I'm going too far or whatever. There is nothing, because it's the feminist philosophy that this is good. The farther away you get from men, good. The more expressive sexuality, good.
I'm assuming that's the sex positive feminists, not the because they would look at you like you're
empowerment.
If you were different.
And also they're probably also into that. So you trying to leave that, it's kind of what happened when I think with that island with Bear Grylls or whatever. If any woman tried to like stand up and be the leader, like she gets chastised and shouted down.
Yeah, they insisted. They insisted on not having a leader so that they could all keep doing nothing.
It's collectiveness. Like it's like more collectiveness where no one should be the leader, because on one hand it's like, oh, don't be a man or whatever because men are awful. But also it's no one. Why do you get to be the leader? It's like that. Like why should you get to be the leader? What are your credentials or whatever? So it was kind of like that, and I think it's like very similar here, where it's like why do you want to leave? Is there something wrong? Like what makes you better than us? It's like that sort of scenario.
I think it's an unconscious psychological test. Much like some other things in the, for lack of a better word right now, the human flirting game. where you have some unconscious psychological test. In that is where the question comes up, oh, why should you be the leader? Well, the answer is, I'm gonna be. And then it's accepted. It doesn't need a reason, just needs confidence.
Because usually men can usually take that stuff. So even with in a group of men, it's very natural. Usually, it's very natural due to charisma. Like a guy takes charge, and then he gives good ideas. The other men will be like, "Yeah, that makes sense. We'll do that." And if he's challenged, then he doesn't back down. He's like, "Okay, challenge me then. Let's go, let's go, buddy boy. It's time to throw down." So there will be a leader, but it's more collective. The collective mindset with women. So I don't know. It just kind of feels very similar to that when how the way she talks about it, where if you try to get out of this stuff, then other women will shout you down, will say that you have, I think she mentioned that they'll say that it is internalized misogyny is that term. Let's turn like you
Right.
thinking that this is a problem is internalized misogyny or something like that. So it's like negativity, discouragement of quitting this literary fiction or this literary smut binge, essentially. So it's like a feminist theory backfiring, where if you are a woman going down this road, there is no help, there is no aid, there is no one trying to discourage you from doing this, because society says, oh, this is good, this is okay, women can do no wrong when it comes to consuming pornography or smut in this way. You are encouraged. It is society also encourages women because it's empowerment. It's getting away from men. So there is no way out unless you are alone. If you are a woman down this road, you are alone, as opposed to men who are demonized and chastised freely by society. And so there's a lot of outlets and help to dissuade you from consuming pornography and indulging in your lusts. That's kind of how it goes.
You know, this kind of made me think of the character that Jack Nicholson played as a romance novelist in As Good as It Gets, and he was, misanthropic. He was OCD. He was a germaphobe. Like everything had to be like exactly the way. Like, just is that the lifestyle of an average male who writes this stuff? They have to go through all this neuroticisms just to become a bestseller. Like they're so obsessed with something. Like they're probably not. It's just
Where's the quote come from? It's like how to write women in fiction. I think of a man. Yeah, it was from that movie. Yeah. Oh, that was from it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. I would imagine probably some men do approach it, if they're clever, do approach it that way. Is maybe not so much the writing a woman without any kind of agency, or what was it? Is the exact phrase logic, but more
reason
of
and accountability.
Accountability. That was it. However, if you're not a woman, you can maybe more accurately look at what you find that women are going towards and what they seem to like, and be very clinical about it without your own interests and your own desires necessarily reading into it or bleeding into the actual work as much. So if you want to be really clinical and opportunistic, yeah, I think men might be better at writing women's fiction.
Are you saying that women can't write women?
I mean, look, the Mary Sue is the example,
I know.
Of course, of. But no, I generally think you get a lot of problems with Mary Sue's. Yeah.
Yeah, because
some women can, of course, just like some men can. But
of course, but that's the joke. It's that the image you can only project, and that's why they create Mary Sue's, and which are always projections of their wish fulfillment. Which, funnily enough, is their power fantasy.
That's where the Mary Sue came from. It was a mockery. It was a satire on this the editor getting this flood of lonely housewives sitting in their Star Trek fan fiction, and then it was like it's all the same. It's all the same. That she's awesome. For some reason, she's always like 15 and a half years old or something. 15 to 16.
That was just the one he published.
Well, that was so it was published in the Menagerie as a Trekkie's Tale, but the Trekkie's Tale is a satire on the Mary Sue. It's a story that started the Mary Sue, but it's a satire on this kind of character that she kept getting in fan fiction, or these fan fiction things. So she just made fun of it by putting together all the common tropes, and they're always like, oh, it's always like 15, 16-year-old girl genius who just takes over the Enterprise, is awesome. She catches the eye of Kirk and Spock and is super cool and saves the day, and then probably dies at the end a majestic and romantic death.
Oh, I thought the original Mary Sue story was written in an unironic fashion.
No.
That was
Well, there were. That's where the idea came from. Obviously, was that yes, the idea of the Mary Sue joke character was based on previous work. But yeah, the Mary Sue character from Star Trek fan fiction originally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's the goes.
Fascinating.
But Turkey's Tale was a satire that named the demon.
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah. There just to delineate. Yes. But that was often considered. I brought it up before, like one of the first modern fan fictions, or in the last talk we did about this. But of course, there was fan fiction about Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
That was apparently quite famously, sent around little women's letter writing groups.
Where they then became the perfect assistants to Sherlock Holmes who solved the things instead of him?
And then
I don't know. I've never... Actually, well, I know a little bit about it because and the only thing I know about what was contained in this literature is that it was overwhelmingly homoerotic stuff.
You know what's hilarious
which
about
would have been
that?
absolutely extra taboo, I would imagine. But
Yeah,
that
but
also,
You know what is absolutely hilarious and ironic about that? The Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes series turned into exactly that.
By a lot, yeah.
Oh yeah, they played into it because it's the same thing with Kirk and Spock, right?
Yeah, but what I wouldn't say played into it. I'd rather say they gave into it, they succumbed to it, because that's the same audience and the same types of writers who write this type of smut.
Well, lean into it because it's just another avenue to make money. You want to get women to go out to see an action film? Well, I don't know, allude that the two guys are a little gay, or leave it open-ended enough so that they can project that stuff onto it.
And it's also why you then get Sherlock's sister, who is also better at everything than him and Mycroft.
Right. Yeah, that kind of stuff's infuriating. But yeah, that's why did Supernatural get so popular amongst women? Which
dear.
Yeah, right. And which otherwise Supernatural. I'd say like horror elements. I guess that supernatural stuff does better than science fiction usually. But again, Star Trek was such a popular early fixation of this, so maybe not. Because it seems to be a lot of supernatural themed things.
Or you had the two great men that the men have Madonna whore. You had the two great men that women like, which is the bad boy Kirk character and the safe intellectual Spock character.
Spock's my boy. As my 7-year-old crush.
So you had them both, and of course, gonna love the dichotomy. Oh, do I want Spock or do I want Kirk?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Same with Dean and Sean, or Dean and Sam in
Dean and Sam. Yeah.
The supernatural thing is a little weird because they're brothers.
Well,
it's an extra element of, but
taboo. Yeah.
And yeah. So again, but see, what is taboo from 1967 versus what's taboo in 2007?
That is hardly a block to the ladies to
right.
Use. It's like, oh, that's a hurdle. Let me jump over that.
Yeah, the gay. See again. Yeah, the gay part. Whatever. Brothers, though.
Ooh. Yeah, no, that went on way too long, and I do remember Jensen Ackles because he was...
Oh, it got so tedious.
Well, I didn't even watch it because I know that he was on this really stupid arc on Smallville, and he was fighting the contract because he wanted to join this new show, and they didn't know when to stop the filming, and it was so stupid. It was like they tried to combine a few other love stories. You're like, oh god, just get this guy killed off and get over with it, please. Let him go off and do his own thing. Yeah, Smallville was a crazy ride. Anyway, back to the video.
Typically who watch hardcore stuff or who are addicted to it are ashamed of it. Women who are addicted to reading, as they call it, smut, are supposed to be proud of it. None of these women...
You know what? I talk about all the games I play with everyone, so I'm not addicted to stuff. I talk about the adult VN genre.
It's not all about you, smut.
No, but I want to bring a realistic side, because you can enjoy all of these things. And if you just remember your Oracle of Delphi, just to take it in moderation, it's not a big deal. But because she's talking specifically about people who are addicted are shameful of it, I'm like, okay, let's be specific. Are we talking about young men, older men? Are socially deviant men? Do they have healthy relationships? Are they mature? Do they read other things? Do they watch other things? Like, I want to know exactly the examples, because I'm sure there's people who are addicted to stuff that are scared about talking about it. Of course. I just want to know where she's getting this attitude from.
Shame. But here's the thing. Shame is not a bad thing. Shame is how our brains tell us we're doing something that will harm us. If we feel shame eating that 4th slice of triple chocolate cake in one sitting, that's our brain telling us that this is...
What, is that a personal story there, honey? What are you totally cheap? Are you like repping like 4 hours work of exercise? I need the quadruple chocolate cake. I need the energy.
If she does, it's certainly not taking on.
Well,
Yeah.
Devoured an entire large pizza by yourself you might feel a little shameful.
The closest
But
bakery.
it is true though. I mean, that's why shame exists, as a function of evolution.
The Coke won't handle it. I need all my sugar and chocolate and cream format right now.
If we feel shame because we haven't exercised enough, telling us that we need physical exercise.
6 months.
If we feel shame when we take in hardcore explicit material, that's our brain telling us that this is going to harm us in some way and we need to stop. This is our brain trying to save us. Eventually, anyone can...
Okay, this is where we want to pull out the MRI and check out the hypothalamus, the cerebral cortex, see what's developed, what's not developed. That's where I want her to go with this, because right now I'm like, your brain is telling. It's like, no, your brain's not.
Yeah. This is the obvious place to go into the neurological data.
Yeah. Don't just say the brain is trying to say. No, the brain doesn't give a shit about.
Don't anthropomorphize. It's even I've tended to do it because that's just how people communicate things about neuroscience. But anthropomorphize in the brain. Then you better back it up then with data.
Exactly. The hippocampus, give me something to, the fear response, the pain response, something. Give me something. Don't just say the brain.
To shame, but the effort to desensitize has been a lot more intensive than it has been for men, because historically women have led the charge against indecent or sexually explicit material. So shame in women cuts into hardcore film producers and women's lit publishers.
No, they don't. Nope, they don't give a shit. They do not care. They will do whatever they want to make the monies. And
no. Then if they only cared about the monies, we wouldn't have had the woke period at all.
That's not what she's talking about, though. That's different. We're talking about women's lit publishers. It's like, is this going to sell millions to my previous millions that we sold in the sequel or the prequel? Like, yes, okay, we'll do it. So, film producers are a little different, of course. I don't know exactly.
They're bigger projects that have vastly larger companies behind them that can blow money on social experiments, essentially. For some purpose or another, or trying to gain a new audience, whatever it actually is, the rationale. Whereas with book publishing, it's much smaller scale.
Yeah,
you don't have this massive amounts of money behind it. But it's so then the margins are closer. Yeah,
we talked about the Marvel world of the past 9 years, I don't know, post Endgame, like whatever they did, just kept crapping and losing money, and they kept doing it, except for like a few examples, and they're still not changing course. Even with the Netflix stuff? Or is it
I really thought because they're behind the curb on it now, but then you got to remember that movies take several years to produce. Yeah. So with all the woke stuff going away, and in many cases, Marvel's now got movies that they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on that are halfway finished and trying to figure out how to cobble them back together or what to do. So you're not going to... So with films, they tend to be... And video games, you tend to see staggered effects in those in terms of when there's a shift in cultural paradigm.
Yeah, I'm curious what Obsidian is going to do, for example, because they have getting other contracts and their games are sort of looked on as, they do creative stuff for the audience, and then they do crappy stuff now for their audience, and it's like not AAA anymore, it's like double and a half A, or whatever you want to call a lower budget, trying to take on Bethesda or other bigger companies, and it's an open world game, just not as reactive as Skyrim. It's like, okay, well, it's not real open world. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going for when they have all these elements like body type 1 and body type 2, or all these other sub quests that involve was it the adopted boy who's a demon who ends up changing their gender or whatever that crazy one was in Avowed. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, right, yeah.
But people are still holding their breath. See what happens this year or next year with well, there's releases every month. There's nothing really on my radar in the fantasy or sci-fi world that's catching my eye. That's a big name.
Removing shame, bullying, hardcore erotica production out of the mainstream, it mobilizes 50% of the spending force of the book market to obsessively consume something that is dangerously addictive. This is a huge reason why it's becoming increasingly common for harder and harder content in books to be made available to a younger and younger audience, especially a young female audience. You see incredibly steamy makeout scenes in books marketed to 12-year-old girls. Caraval, for example, has 2 prolonged passages that read like weird...
Let's read some porn. Here we go. Oh, yeah, let's stop there. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you guys can guess what's going on here, but there's multiple definitions of the word lips when we're talking about women, so we'll just stop there. Okay.
And this isn't some kind of accidental slip of the pen. This is intentional. Famously, Sarah J. Maas only allowed her book to be marketed to a YA.
Is it Mass or Moss? I keep misspelling this. What is going on? M-A-S or M-A-S-S?
Mass.
Moss, yes. M-A-A-S, yes. Okay, good.
Out any of the explicit material. The thing, and you've got social moral armor, no one is willing to touch. Not even.
Well, okay, this is the person I was referring to, I think, from my talk with Sidar. And she says that the Throne of Glass or the Court of Thorns and Roses, this is basically just reading a George R. R. Martin story.
Well, the Throne of Glass, is that not based on a Franco-Belgian comic book?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it is, unless it's... there's a Franco-Belgian comic I've read, but it's a long-running series that has that same name. De Argelay, or however it's pronounced.
Well, she
Sadly,
wrote it.
Don't have the money for Franco-Belgian comics, but I can ask in the comic store locally because it has a huge collection.
It's, well, she's the author from 2012 to 2018, so it's been going on. If it was Franco-Belgian, it's probably like in the 80s or 90s, I imagine.
Let's see.
Franco-Belgian stuff still runs today.
It's like 2006. But that I don't think this got translated. So I was thinking that she's like reading this historical fiction comic book or writing this historical fiction comic book. I'm like, I highly doubt it. It's very masculine coded, that book is. So not the same one, my bad.
It could have the same title. It's possible.
Something I hear a lot is that this is all the result of women taking over literature. I definitely see the point, but I was curious if that was true. So I, took to the internet. The percentage of female authors as of 2019, which was the most recent.
Before she gives the data. They certainly take up a lot more space in the bookstore.
Yeah.
The English section, while it did get expanded here in the local big one, is now, so it did get bigger over in quantity, but in quality it got smaller. The relevant stuff before were 2 shelves, now it's 1, and instead 90 to 95% is just this stuff. And it runs under new adult in English, the term. And on the other side of the store is the entire wall full. That's like 5, 6, 7, 8 shelves of all the same books in German. So translated. It's just massive. But there's only a very specific demographic that reads it.
Right. Okay, here's Alex Halo with
number
the 2.
I could find any further.
Oh, sorry, I'm just reading a super chat. Who put my enties with pictures into a kid novel? Whoa. Is this a comic book? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't know.
A manga?
I think it's a way to try to wrap the topic together.
Maybe.
Oh, of talking about how she wanted to slap the YA sticker on what was clearly essentially, from the sounds of it, pornographic work or smut, whatever.
Yeah.
But want it to have a YA, which I mean, yeah, if that's true, I don't know anything about this woman, but if true, that's pretty disgusting.
Personally, I take issue with the term young adult in literature because it's also defined differently in every other place, and it's one of these obscuring things where they try to where it's either it's teenagers, which are not adults, or it means people who turned 18 and are in their early 20s at best. That would be actual young adult. But the left specifically uses this term for under 18s. And that's not because they always try to push this, push any types of consent and abilities that teenagers should have or that children should have. They try to push the age down where those things should be available.
It depends. When you're describing like a young adult book for the West, it could be up to age 20. It could be below 16 in Japan. It depends on what the genre is and the publisher. So there's no standard, as far as I know, for age and content, at least among countries.
Any further statistics were likely behind this mother of all pay gates was 50.5%, which was also fairly steady from 2010 to 2019. The percentage of female editors as of 2021 was 67%. Funnily enough, that's not that big of an increase from 2010 when the number was 64%. The percentage of female literary agents as...
I'm trying to remember the name of, what is it, like to become not necessarily a librarian, but there's a course you take in university to study information sciences or whatever it's called.
Yeah, info sciences. It's not just a course. I had a friend who had a master's degree in it.
Yeah, and it was just the only girl I ever knew who was in it, like from my school. No one else I knew ever took it. So
that's with this guy too. It was like his whole department was like 3 people.
Yeah, it's like no, I've never even heard of this course, and it's like, how did you get in? Oh, there's no competition. There's just
right.
You just pop in, and
Well, I think his whole thing is he wanted to be like some sort of real life Indiana Jones, but he wasn't into archaeology, so he was going to be. Well, what was it was a Indiana Jones knockoff, The Librarian or something, wasn't it? Or like parody? I think maybe it was a parody of it that was or something like that. So that's what he went with, just decided to be like the indie, and he cosplayed Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of fantasy book, well, not fantasy, but contemporary stories of knockoff Indiana Jones. The one that I read was Vesper Hawley, and it was a redheaded archaeologist who went around the world. Yeah, basically Indiana Jones.
I actually think I'm getting it totally mixed up with a commercial from, was that maybe UHF, where it's Conan the Librarian, whatever. I think I'm getting some things mixed up.
That was a great skit.
Oh, God. All right, Alex Halo, again for the, $2. I'm making a joke. What having I miss just got here? Okay, sir, thank you. Fine. Disregard.
This is a two-parter, Alex. You will enjoy it all the more if you watch the first part.
Yeah.
58%, which is actually a decline from 2010 when the number was 64%. So that's people. Now, what about the books that are actually being read? Let's look at the New York Times bestseller list for the last 4.5 years.
That means books being sold. If you want to know what's being read, go to Goodreads and get the numbers from there, or get the reviews, like the short reviews from there. That's probably the best.
Yeah.
2020. 34 best-selling authors, 16 were women. In 2021, 21 out of 37.
Yeah, is this fiction? Is this just in general? Could be biographies. Could be all kinds of
Well, I'm
things.
guessing she just said bestseller. So is that just right? That actually is very important.
Yeah, this is not good.
In 2022, 12 out of 22 were women.
Wait, this is from Wikipedia.
I'm just taking from New York Times bestseller data chart on Wikipedia, so we can obviously look that up more easily.
That'd be helpful because this could be anything, and I'm quite sure there's more than 14 or 24 people in 2023 on the bestseller list. There's all kinds every year. Whenever they say, "Oh, you're in the top 10, you're the bestseller for this month," it's like, yeah, for your genre, for your category, for your location in the world, like Amazon.ca or whatever.
Okay, so the following list ranks the #1 best-selling fiction books. So it doesn't. So from the Wikipedia page, just for 2024, I presume they're all this way. Then it's just fiction, so it's not nonfiction.
Yeah. Okay.
But still, yeah, I mean, it's fiction still also a very broad
yeah, it
category.
doesn't really help. If it's romance, it was fantasy. If it was rom-com, if it was romantic fantasy, if it was dark fantasy, I don't know. There's all kinds of subgenres. So,
I mean, the top ones though it's Rebecca Yarros, Sarah Maas, Kirsten Hanna. These all seem like
the same. Well, not again. The only one was Rebecca or Jennifer. What's her name? I forgot her name already. Sarah Moss and what's her name? Jesus. Anyway, yeah, she sold like 10 million or something like that for that one book this year.
Yeah.
In 2024, 17 out of 25. It's been about 8 out of 13. The point of all these numbers is to...
My only issue with those numbers would be that they're really, really small, and thus they can tilt rather heavily.
That would probably account for both physical and digital purchases, I assume.
The point of all these numbers is to say that statistically women don't dominate the literary world. That said, in many ways, the numbers here don't quite represent the reality. No matter what the numbers say for bestsellers, if you actually look at the list, you can see that romance, especially smutty romance and romantasy, dominate huge blocks of the calendar. And a lot of these female writers have female agents. And obviously, readers of these books will be predominantly female. So women might not quite statistically dominate the literary world, but the literary world, nevertheless, seems to have taken a very particular female leaning.
She just mentioned 50% of the audience like 2 minutes ago about taking the stuff out. So wouldn't it be more than 50% if we're talking about a predominantly female reading audience would be affected? See, I remember she used the number, and I was like, what does that mean? What does that represent? And now she's saying, no, it's more than just 50%. You're like, okay. So that would be contrary to not affecting the entire rest of the men, or just the women, rather. Numbers. She's doing analogies, and then she's doing numbers from Wikipedia. I'm assuming she means this will affect more readers who happen to be female, which are more than 50%. Okay.
Yeah.
With my own phrasing here a
there we
little.
go.
Is working today, but the idea that this is somehow an example of typically female writing or a typically female writer is something I find incredibly frustrating and just a little bit insulting.
Why?
But here's the thing. This fact, the
What's wrong
fact
with
that
that?
women
What's wrong with being typical? And what's wrong with you not fitting the typical mold?
You see, I see this, and I'm like, people are buying what's popular. I would rather these books sell and not sell, which implies the books are good, and the audience is getting what they want. So
yeah, again, I don't understand what. Look, I mean, like different things that attract the sexes to fiction. So just because I don't know your preferred stuff is more popular or it's less popular, excuse me, I don't really see this complaint.
Why is she Is she jealous? Does she want...
Because it comes off that way.
Yeah, does she want
bit.
her books which have less or no smut, or maybe PG-14 rated smut that, the hot kissing or whatever she said before? It's like, okay, what do you want and why? Because I'm quite sure young adults these days who are women can figure out, oh, this is a sex scene, I get it.
Yeah.
Not that they're all addicted to it. It's all stunting their social development. It's like they're girls. They read books and they're on their phones all the time. It doesn't, it's one of 20 different things that are occupying their brain that day. I want to know the exact problem with these women who are reading smut and they go to a therapist and how many there are, and they realize they have a problem, and then there's like this shadow number who don't go to the therapist, and we have to help those. And this, I don't want this to be some Christian mom argument where it's like, oh, we got to protect the kids because we don't know how many.
Well, I think she's more or less gone there, at least with we talked about young women and young girls being exposed to this. So yeah, it's a little bit. you're leaning in on that gotta protect the kids thing there.
And if you read the books backwards, the devil is going to turn them into something, and you're like, okay, what the hell now? What are we doing? What's wrong with these books, honey? Tell me.
I mean, I agree that children should be exposed to like some of the things that is in those women's books that are labeled young adult is absolutely not acceptable for children, and there is no real I'd say there's no real protections on that the way that there is visual pornography, because again it's seen as literature or something other than porn.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to even say you're 18 to go on fanfiction.net and read the most egregious
that's
stuff imaginable.
That is, yeah. Well, that's not being sold, but all it's going to do.
True, I'm just saying all over the place. Like even like Pornhub or whatever is going to ask you to at least click that you're 18. And now with all this OSA and KOSA or Kids Online Safety Act or whatever it's called coming into effect all over the world, maybe they'll start age gating it. But I wouldn't be surprised if the literature stuff, because it's oriented at women, remains untouched.
Well, imagine a Comics Code Authority like thing for. I guess you want to use the young adult label, and they'd have to put like another like subcategory, like almost like you're reading ingredients on a food. It's like it's not just fat; it's saturated and unsaturated and polyunsaturated. Ooh, it's like okay.
It's gonna have all the tags on there.
All the tags from fanfiction.net, like 20 tags of like bestiality with pigs. Like oh my god, like. Yeah, you're gonna go all these visceral detail.
Book contains anal.
Anal? What does that mean? And anus was involved in the writing? Oh, God. Alex Halo again for the 2. They will read smut, then complain about shonen manga. Thank you. Yes, they will complain.
Yes, yeah.
Doesn't matter. They'll complain about shonen manga. That's true.
Which reminds me of something. There seems to be an opposite effect happening here that is probably the same. Because it is literature, they can hide the smut and, well, call it literature. Oh, well, because it's written, they elevate it to, but it's literature. While on the other hand, we have this, and it's still ongoing, this the other prejudice in the other direction. If it's drawn animated stuff, it's for children. I think this is the same psychological trap or obfuscation.
This is like imagining, if Lolita could be published today, with these sorts of whatever she wants to do with rules, and would it be published as a young adult book? Obviously not. It would be published as a book. It's a piece of literature, but you wouldn't target it for young adults or teenagers. This is getting kind of like, you can write what you want, but you have to know who's it for, and you have to put a label on it. You have to put some sort of warnings. It's like, okay, that's
who knows? Maybe that stuff's coming. I don't know, but maybe with all of this online stuff happening, I think it'll get passed over for the same reason it already is. That's woman stuff. That's girl stuff. So it can't be that bad.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Go for another 4. We don't have to go through all of this. I think she's going to keep harping on the same point, it sounds like.
The industry is not what created this problem. This problem has existed for a long time. What problem am I talking about? Call it what you want.
The same thing you've been talking about the entire video?
Yeah. But let's just say it's the widespread and constantly increasing reliance on explicitly sexual content to sell books, at least in part. This novel is seductive and compelling, or a meditation on the erotic, or an erotic black comedy, or a tour de force of erotic realism.
See, I want to read that. A tour de force? What is erotic realism? I have no idea. But if someone describes it like that, then either the writer knows the content, and he would say specifically, this is a tour de force. And like, okay. Yeah. That is, is that the next 50 Shades? Is that, just a bunch of really explicit material? What makes it dramatic? I want to know. So I don't see how that's an inherent problem, though. That's just, marketing, or I think this is Goodreads. I don't know. This seems, or Amazon, it just seems very like one person's opinion. If she could actually take a book from Moss or whomever and say, here's the breakdown, 80% is narrative, description, world building, whatever, and then the rest is all smut. You're like, oh, that's a lot. That would be a lot for that kind of story. If it was like 95%, and then here's this really great scene at the end because the story's over and everyone won the prize and the girl's getting married or whatever. Like, okay, cool, go crazy, have babies, fail beautifully at making babies. I don't care, just go full descriptive. So, yeah, that's what most of these books are anyway. So, unless it's 50 Shades.
Or which seduction beats suspense. And these are not recent books. Some of these were published over 20 or 30 years ago. It's there visually too, like the naked woman on the cover of Jaws. This cover of
what? It's visual. It's the cover. Like what?
Yeah, that seems like a really bizarre nitpick, but
I think it's just examples of what happened in history.
That's silly. Again, I could talk about the Conan books and all the
right.
Beefy
which is
men.
never brought up. It's all shirtless men, oiled up,
on
like
horses with axes, and there's a woman in the background, and she's like doing this big Christ pose or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's like this big, massive breasts and bodies and muscles. And
I mean, they are so unsubtle. It's half of the covers are just pictures of a man's chest. Like that's I've seen these things. That's just like the one she's picked out, even to show off that look less, just directly and overtly pornographic on the cover. Fine, but those Harlequin romance books or stuff of that ilk where they print 500 of them a day. It's just poorly photoshopped pictures of men's chests.
Yeah. And they're on a horse, or they got their big, long, flowing hair, and the big sun in the background, and they're looking into each other's eyes, and whatever.
I think that's honestly even more like 90s, early 2000s, 80s. Now, again, like you see them on the racks going by, and it is just, like, it's, and you see the Adonis muscles and stuff, so it's one step away from being porn. Just on the cover.
Yeah. But you can't fault, I mean, that's, again, this is what writers want. They want the amazing covers so people can look, what's that?
Of course. Yeah, so people will want to read it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what you're going to read in that kind of book.
That's exactly how they sell books. You look at the cover, and you have the shelving in the bookstore, and then you flip it so it's on its side so you can see the cover, and you're like, oh, what's that? So, pretty normal.
Windmills of the Gods, or the old pulpy covers of sword and sorcery paperbacks. The thing is, a lot of these books that had these blurbs and these terrible covers usually...
They're not terrible.
Terrible covers?
They're amazing. They're oil paintings.
Yeah.
See, even my Catholic, very good girl, high school art teacher was really into art. Because she was allergic to oil, so she had to find like a lemon substitute. And she would talk about how one of her teachers would actually know some of these fantasy author stuff, and because they had to open the windows for her because she was allergic, and they all switched to lemon-based oil paints or whatever it was called, and they would paint nudes, and this was like what you would do in learning fine arts in university.
I mean, I went to art school. Yeah,
I did it too. Yeah.
So for visual arts, and so I mean for high school, actually, not for college, and so 3 days a week for 4 years. Well, we didn't do it freshman year, but starting sophomore year, we had nude models, and there was nothing weird about it. But I can't imagine talking about Frank Franzetta's work and calling that awful. It's like, just from a technical standpoint alone, it's not awful covers. There's a lot of skill there. Yeah,
and I mentioned the 1930s Wild Tales. I can't remember her last name. I think she was British. It was Margaret something. She had nudity. Like, she had full blown.
Thatcher? Oh God, I hope not.
Margaret something or other. I can't remember her name. But it was like, I feel like these are women. They're just like getting sacrificed, and there's someone's holding a dagger, and the other one's all braless or topless. You're like, oh shit, this is like really serious scenario. And this is the 30s. So I don't know how this got published or how it was marketed, but probably not normal on the newsstands in Great Britain.
limited sex in the books, and when it came out of nowhere. The reality is, however, that no matter what the writers thought, the publishers knew that a little sprinkling of sex would let them mention it in the publicity, and that would boost sales. After a few generations cycle through this system, using sex to sell an otherwise mediocre or even terrible book is not even something that's questioned.
I want examples.
For that matter, using sex to sell an excellent book isn't even questioned. Eventually,
Okay, so it's bad both ways. Sex is bad. Okay.
Sex is the main point of the current year situation did not arise entirely out of thin air. Like, the second women started to dominate literature.
No, it's not sex is bad. It's that the overwhelming quality of the book being that is the problem.
Right.
And where we go back to the previous thing about this is just basically a drug in words because it exhausts your dopaminergic system.
Well, I want to see those examples of books which are just designed for, like, this is the next sex scene, and then, like, 2 chapters later, here's the next. Like, I want to see that
50
example.
Shades of Grey.
Yeah, but that's what I want her to argue against. I want to see that problem, because these books that the ones that she shows quickly on the screen, like, those are not what she's like. She doesn't like those. But
I would believe this is like in her benefit of the doubt for her. If YouTube wasn't YouTube, she might give us. I'm sure she's the kind of person who would give us the actual example on screen.
We could,
but YouTube being YouTube, we can't do that.
Yeah, we could ask AI, say, hey, this recent book from Mosque? How much? Give me the percentage of, like, dialogue versus narration, and then do the same thing with, like, world building versus porn or something like that. Like, just what's the ratio? Is it like 1 to 1,000 or like 5 to 6 or something? Like really give me a detail, because I don't want to read it. I just want to know how much of the content is what she's complaining about, and then we can say, okay, let's take another book from her in maybe the same series from 5 years ago and see how much that sold and what the ratio was. Because then you could say, okay, it's getting progressively more sexual.
Yeah, and you could use AI to do that, or if you wanted to be more thorough. I mean, that's like Crimson Rogue has been doing that for years. Of just going through and reading, like, or at least read 2 from 2 different eras or something like that. I mean, I don't think these are heavy reading.
No.
And you can just, knock that out in maybe a couple of afternoons or something, and then be able to determine and definitively prove to just, like, if not just the raw statistics, maybe the extremity of the language, because maybe it wouldn't just be limited to the number of times there's a sex scene, but how is it being described? And if that's increasing in intensity, then you'd have some data to actually point to.
That could be there's another argument to be made with we're talking about the quality of the writer and the style, and is there more of it? Is it one that's really fleshed out? Is it very visceral? Is it violent? Is it really twisted? What's the nature of the sex scene and the diction? That would be, let's actually compare the authors and their styles. And that could be nothing to do with sex, just how they narrate. So that would be very important, because you can't just say, well, this sex scene's better because it's bigger and it's got all this stuff happening. It's like, well, no, you could have a great scene with only 2 people, and just really subtle storytelling. As we say, we don't care about the content, we care about how it's done. So that could just be part of it. Or the opposite, where the sex scene is actually horrible, but the rest of the story is great. And maybe the author just doesn't do sex scenes very well, or has a ghostwriter or something.
It would be a better video too if you could also point to these examples and
yes,
show things through thematic analysis that, yes, like the intensity of the themes, the quality of the writing, which is more difficult to determine than things like thematic analysis that you can do quantitatively. But you can have you can actually, if you want to be really thorough about it, and I wouldn't expect a YouTuber to do this, but if it was something that you were interested in, you could even get people who you make a code book to look for certain things, and then you can have other people read it as well and see if they notice the same stuff or get the same vibes, or also think that the writing is poor here.
I bet if you go on Goodreads and just message those people who gave
they'll tell you
positive reviews. Why did you like the book? Oh, this is great. The sex is good, but that's not why I'm reading it. Da 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 da. Like, oh, great. Do you think you have friends who are obsessed with this this author, oh yeah, they love her, but are they like creepy and weird? It's like, no. Okay. So I really want to figure out the problem here. Because it sounds like, she sounds like one of these protective mothers who either want to protect the young adults, or she just does not like sex and or sexual depictions in these books because of whatever.
I think the much better thing to focus on is on the quality of the writing, if on anything. Just being like, if that's your critique of just saying, hey, the quality of women's writing is going down in terms of it's sloppily written, it's
I would want
objective trash.
I would
in some way.
Yeah, I would get an actual person who likes the sexual scenes and say, why is this good? Tell me why. Show me why, and show me like why it gets better as the writer ages or whatever. Like that's what I would. Yeah. That would be the easiest, because it's like, here's a critic who's likes the stuff and can go into detail why this does and does not work, and why this author's better even though they're not selling as much or whatever the case may be. That would be great, as opposed to
honestly. Again, because it's a lot to ask for a YouTube video, just read the comments.
Yeah, Goodreads is pretty good. I don't think it's the best, but it's better than Amazon. So it's just for people who read the book, say, yep, 4-star, 3-star, or they give a really bad star, like a 2-star rating, and they just write a essay. And you're like, oh God, why is it amazingly bad? But there's like little nuggets of things you like. Those are always great. Oh, even the 4-star ones are like that too.
Everything became smut. I would concede that everything has become women-centric smut, or you could say smut written for women by women. But this issue, this almost virulent proliferation of smut, as it were, in literature has been a thing for a long time. The main difference is that previously some books were written by men and some by women. On top of that, the overall quality used to be higher, so the sex didn't really stand out, nor were the publishers leaning as heavily on the explicit content to sell the books, given that the books and the authors were generally of a higher quality in and of themselves. I can't read the minds of the women who wrote articles like these ones, but I'd guess that a major complaint a lot of these women really had when it...
Why are men still writing about sex? That's great.
I think it's like the idea is that it's kind of like the idea that only women can nurture a child. It's like only women can write about sex and pornography.
Apparently.
Good Lord.
I'm just more annoyed because she again went back to the quality of the writing is decreasing, but there's been no evidence for that whatsoever. And there's been no real evidence for the neuropsych stuff. So like it's just sort of pontificating.
I think she's
27 minutes in.
I think she's coming from the fact that there's just been a huge, gigantic increase in a lowering of the standards, because the demand for this stuff is insane. And so Bill Maher once said that we have we at one point in time we had more people to teach than we had smart professors or something like that. We had a higher demand for professors than we had smart people, and it's kind of like that. So we started adding in really stupid professors because we need more professors. It's kind of like that, where we need. Back then it wasn't so much in demand, but so they could vet and kind of like only publish the best of the best. But now there's such a humongous demand, a ravenous demand for this stuff that they lowered the standard, and it's like they're just publishing anybody. Just get them out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw titles of books where like I yeeted a potion at a werewolf or something like that. It was like.
It's actually the same thing in academia because because of the publisher perish paradigm that exists in academia. You even find that in scientific papers. I just released a video about a guy who published like 17 papers that were about Star Trek in a medical journal. Like you are seeing stuff like that all over the place in terms of when you have more and more people and more demand to publish and more consumption of it, presumably both in academic literature and in as the field of academia expands as there's more people in it. Over time, just as you have, I guess, more readers, there's a constant demand for it. And so the quality does lower. But I think, just inherently, when you get more people involved, you have some more duds.
Yeah, I will say, though... It's
almost as if gatekeeping should always be about quality.
Well, when you have these authors that have been around for a decade and they've been selling significantly higher and higher, that, to me, implies just, obviously, an argument ad populum, that people keep buying the same stuff, or it's getting better and they keep wanting to see what happens next. That's just as good. So I don't see, an inherent problem with whatever the content is. So I want to know what the argument is, because it's all come down to, well, the writing is worse. It's like, well, how? Is it the smut writing? You don't like you're better at it? There's not enough this or that in the fantasy that the ROM fantasy needs? What is it that we're missing that makes it bad or worse? Not because it's more popular and therefore you think there's more sex in it, and then we just look at the numbers and go, this is 15.6% more than last year's book. And you're like, okay, you're right. That's weird, but is that bad? Is that maybe where the story was going, and that was like a conquering arc, and now they have to, I don't know, repopulate the people they killed? I don't know. I want to know what the problem is, because we're still banking on this thing that sex is bad. And you're like, okay, sure, maybe.
I think the same thing is happening to isekai. That's kind of what happened to isekai. It's not necessarily pornography, not necessarily, but it is
there's a few
fantasy.
Yeah, there's a few
that took off. There's a few in there that are a little more raunchier than others. But overall, the isekai genre in particular is not necessarily pornographic. However, it is power fantasy centric. So
yep,
it's like it became, so they kind of got one, then they got a huge flood. Now the thing is, the common tropes of the isekai are like loser goes to Japan, the loser from Japan gets hit by the loser goes to Japan is America's story, but loser goes to another world from Japan is the usual isekai story kind of thing. So the thing is, it's usually like a video game world today. That's kind of the isekai standard. I'm trapped in a video game world and I get powers and everything. Now, the original one that was kind of like this was Dot Hack Sign. And that was a very curated, that's well written. It's got like Dot Hack Sign. Then he had the Dot Hack games, which was very, very good as well. These were deep, interesting. The Dot Hack Sign, the games, they kind of go into the ideas of real life versus the game world, how you are in real life versus how you are in the game. What is real? What isn't real? It's kind of interesting to look into that. And that's the thing. I think it's kind of what happened. Like a lot of these shows were kind of like that, curated and made by people who know what they're doing. And then the demand rose significantly, and now we have this gigantic flood of isekai that are kind of almost copy paste of the last one, except for a little twist here and there.
Yep.
Well,
So to the point where now we have standard tropes now.
I would say that Hack Sign introduced a new story, a new type of story, specifically in the otherworld genre that already existed, because there have been some before, like Junikoki and Those Who Hunt Elves. Have you seen Those Who Hunt Elves?
Oh yeah,
I don't think so. No.
That's a classic 90s.
LitDev, you must watch Those Who Hunt Elves. You will massively enjoy it.
I misheard you for a second, so it took me a second to check it. But yeah, Those Who Hunt Elves, yes.
That sounds pretty cool. But I have seen Dot Hack Sign. I really enjoyed it. It was pretty interesting.
I love Dot Hack.
Yeah. Characters, the like the ideas of what's real, what isn't. The idea of like this.
There was way more to it.
Very, very. There's a lot of depth to the storyline. Very cool stuff. So, but then a lot of the isekai are kind of like that in premise. Like, old video game world, dealing with other pressures and stuff, and then it kind of spanned out to like, okay, D&D video game world, and it kind of went on from there. But the standards seem to have lowered because there is a lot of garbage out there. It's just horrendous.
Yeah, but
garbage.
That's because it's the big genre of the time that gets iterated into every potential possibility. Most of them will be, due to Sturgeon's law, not great. And before that, we had in different parts of the world, we had the Western era in the West. We had in Japan the mecha era. We had the magical girl era, and now we got the isekai. But I don't, and we don't know what is going to be the big one once isekai has run out completely. And currently we still have the superhero thing on screen in the West.
Marvel. Yeah,
but we went through the total iteration of everything in mecha as well. But I don't think we can compare that with the literary smut for women, because that is less about the story being original and only about the dopamine hit. And I think that's the key difference.
Mm.
And you're saying like because the copy paste nature of isekai is makes it different than the what's it called, the romantasy.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, I mean the lesser quality, usually self-insert Mary Sue, Gary Stu characters by the author, isekai like Cheat Magician, for example. God, I still can't get over how bad that was. Those things are dopamine hits for the author, but they do not connect with the audience. And with the literary smut, which leads to sexual arousal, that has a much broader hit base, let's say, where the women who read it really don't care that much about the story. Like maybe on first read, but if you have ever seen a woman reread one of these books, they only go from scene to scene. They flip through the pages and then read the next part. And if they read it online, they use Control F and look for keywords to get to the raunchy scenes. They don't even care about the story anymore. But just they just fill out what they want from the story anyway. They just need the raunchy scene.
Well, I think here the point is that it's the demand, heavy on the demand idea specifically. That the reason why there's been there's this huge, gigantic deluge flood of like this all this quality being lowered is because the demand is so high that they kind of had to lower the standards to meet that demand. So we get a flood of both, and so the flood, I think, just what he's talking about is a lower quality that we have now compared to what we used to have, is because of that demand. Like we used to have pretty interesting stories with isekai, but then because the demand became so high, they had to lower the quality to meet that demand. It's kind of there's the little parallel there.
Well, that's where we get like the South Koreans and the Chinese has God knows 24 different animes this season, and they came from mangas like from 3 years ago. But that's why Solo Leveling is so popular. All the South Korean stuff is full, like we're talking the long format comics with full webcomic color, like 12 million colors. So it starts off as a webcomic or as a visual novel, or a web novel, then a webcomic, then a visual novel if it does get adapted or bought out, and then it gets into an anime. But yeah, just with Chinese now, it's just like the animation qualities jump so high. And you're looking at Lord of Mysteries, for example, that came out, I think, this season. And it's insane. Like, the first episode, I don't even know what's going on. I was like, what the? Like, everything's a visual method. There's all this reference to mythos. I don't know what the hell that's talking about. I'm sure there's some Chinese stuff in there. But it feels like you're in Victorian England, and there's these cops hunting you down, and they're psychic, and they're bending reality. I can't follow this. This is nuts. But it's amazing to watch because it's so like visually amazing. So it's kind of like watching what was that, Ghost in the Shell, Innocence, the second film.
Oh yeah.
You're like, what the hell? It's a kaleidoscope of color, but I couldn't tell you what was going on. So yeah, no, there's lots of things I can argue about isekai being good and bad, but
Solo Leveling is a very strange example, a special example, because from the South Korean perspective, it's crap because it completely failed. It completely failed in South Korea, but it is a massive success in the West.
There's a lot of South Korean manga I read that is so high quality in terms of borrowing from game mechanics, borrowing from Solo Leveling, borrowing from anime. And you get a little bit of Western comic, very, very little. There's one or two I can point to which have horror elements that you're like, this is like, it could only survive in this format. You cannot adapt some of this to the screen. It would just be not visually impossible, but you couldn't really tell a story that way unless you had a lot of narration and a lot of world building with dialogue or some other narrator aside from the screen. It would just be too complicated. And it wouldn't flow as you would expect. That's what this is happening with the Chinese stuff. So when you talk about like a book, and she's just talking about reading a novel or a novella from these authors that have been selling the same stuff for the past 8-9 years, They found something that works. And it's like Harry Potter was on a roll, just kept making the next story, and it was a big overarching plot, had all kinds of problems. We all know them. If we ever read the books and all the tropes, we all know them. But people loved it anyway. And it was geared for kids, and it worked out for kids. And now it's one of the biggest franchises out there for fantasy. And it spawned a bunch of other knockoffs from the world or the setting. And everyone was complaining at the time how stupid this is. These books are horrible, horrible fantasy. But, young adults loved them. Kids loved them. Adults loved them because they read them with their kids, or they read them first and then they gave them to their kids. Mm-hmm. So fantasy by itself, I never really, in the 80s, I was reading fantasy. When I was a kid, I was like, reading Tolkien and a few others. And it just never really appealed to me. And once you read it, it's like, that's it. I get it. It's the genre. Until you get like a Gaiman coming around or Harlan Ellison to do something different, it doesn't really. There has to be something else going on. Or Terry Pratchett, there's got to be something else going on there. There's no next Tolkien. We can't make another. There's nothing else to do. So we have to go to gaming. We have to go to movies. We have to go to other stuff. So when this lady is complaining about these authors, I'm like, is repeating the same stuff bad? Probably. I agree with that. But if it sells, just don't buy it. We made we made the same argument.
The whole issue about this is, if it was any other type of literary crap, I think we would only complain about the quality of the writing. But in regards to this, we are dealing with a drug in the shape of ink on paper.
Arguably. I'm sure there are some...
That is an issue that we need to investigate.
I'm definitely sure there are some young men and women addicted to their version of porn. No question. I'm not...
in early last century, there was such a thing called reading addiction. And and it was silly and usually we liken it to when later on parents were complaining about, oh, you only listen to this rock music, it corrupts you. Oh, you only play video games, it corrupts you. Oh, you only watch horror movies, it corrupts you. But I am wondering right now whether the reading addiction, especially of women back in the day, was, or what was called reading addiction, might have actually been this kind of literature that we're talking about right now.
It's a possibility, but I would even argue if you did find some adult scenarios, violent, like you would, and you didn't like it, you would just put it down. I did that with a book. I used to do book reviews online with Jordan Owen a few years ago. And we would always like recommend a book and we'd both cover it. Then the other person would recommend a book, we'd both cover it. And the next book that we had to cover was called Tender as the Flesh. And it's basically a book about cannibalism. What if the world devolved into cannibalism, right? Pretty gruesome story. And it is gruesome. It's very, disgusting. There's slavery. There's all kinds of like, grooming people to become meat, etc. And I got that. And I went, and this is just me because I've read gory stories like this before. I got bored. I was like, oh, the next chapter is going to be about slavery. The next chapter is about slavery. It's just like, oh boy, like I just stopped. It's so redundant, and you know what's happening. You know what's going to come next. And it doesn't matter what the genre is. If I know what's going to happen next, I'm done. I'm not excited.
That's why, the not Saw, but Saw wasn't too far off it. What was that series of films that was just torture horror porn, and it was just I can't. That stuff was so incredibly boring to me because I guess like guess how depraved it gets next, but it's just more of the same. It's absolutely nothing changes. Just there's another vignette of someone being tortured.
Exactly.
And I guess it makes people wince, but that's or whatever. And that's I don't think that's a fair response in the same way.
That wouldn't be the essence of torture porn.
Yeah, but
it's just a scene without context.
Well, it's just the same. Like, oh, this is a delicatessen. Oh, but it's people. You're like, oh, and it's like,
really?
This is a child. Oh, they're a slave. Oh, I wonder. Oh, yeah, they're going to grow up and be, okay, we get it. And it just kept going and going. And then we got to the 4th chapter. I'm like, dude, this is boring. Like, what's the point? Like, he may have a relationship. Yeah. He might not have a relationship. Who cares? I don't care about these characters.
Yeah, and in that context, or rather the absence of context, on the absence of a larger story, and consequences, if you will, it's then purely fetishism.
It's a lack of drama. It's a lack of intelligent and creative. Like, if the story is so linear that you know what's going to happen next, doesn't matter the genre, don't even bother reading. There's no point. If the sex, we're talking specifically about the smut, if the sex is bad, and I talked about this with other people who in the AVN space or who critique these things, like one of the big things about the sex in these stories is that it has to be progressive. The same way a relationship is progressive, so is the sex. It doesn't mean they go from like harder to harder stuff. I mean, they don't do the same things in the same way. They go on trips together. They attend different gatherings differently. They act differently in public and private. They have little nicknames. They say that the words differently. Like, they give me something new. If it's the same two characters, you can't just keep doing the same things and them being excited in exactly the same way, yada yada. The sex tells its own story the same way it does in life with people, and it's the same. You can't just keep taking your girlfriend or your wife to the same restaurant just because it's your favorite. You can't keep doing that. Okay, there's got to be some difference in this romance. There has to be some romance in the romantic story you're giving me. You can't just keep playing it again, Sam, and dream about what could have been. Give me some nostalgia with the excitement. Give me some violence. Give me some threat of violence. Give me more than this. Is when we talk about blending genres and why they work, because you have to. You can't just keep going the same route. You can't just keep your characters the same way. You have to keep challenging them. They have to fall down. They have to break apart. You have to build them back up. It's the same with romance and sex and AVNs that have multiple paths. And if you give players the option, give them that authority, give them the power fantasy, give them the actual thing that when they click yes or no, they get what they want. That's pretty much the main arguments in most of these discussions is why can't we get the thing that we clicked on that said that in chapter 1, if we did this, we'd get it in chapter 5, and there's no payoff. So what's the damn point? Oh no, don't worry, the author's going to change it. No, in 8 months when he comes out with his next chapter. Yeah, sure. So, when I see an author selling 40 million copies of anything, I'm like, they're doing something right.
It would have to be. Yeah.
Their series is working. If they do 5% smut, good for them. Doesn't bother me.
Like this, you might think that it's stupid, but if it's popular, it's doing something right.
Yeah, and that's
right.
the thing.
I mean, that's why the criticism of it comes off to me. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe this is misplaced on my part, but it's a little bit jealous because the most popular things are almost always slop because it's most common denominator stuff.
Yeah,
lowest common denominator even.
That's also the argument for any drug on the black market. All those things are doing something right, aren't they?
Well,
they are massively popular and make tons of money.
With this scenario, what she should have done is taken the top 3 and said, these are bad stories. Here's why. And she would list, I don't know if that's plagiarism or how they would copyright infringement or whatever.
I would love that as a follow-up.
He does videos like that all the time where he goes through chapter by chapter, page by page. I mean, and again, I'm not suggesting that kind of deep level analysis of it, but it could just be a little bit, at least an overview. I think that, again, bringing in any kind of personal experience outside of just things that I've heard people say or
because
my personal experience makes it very limited.
This is like you saying, well, I have all this data, and here's the average reader. This is why they read it, and that's bad. I'm like, wait a second. Why are you making a value judgment on the data of women who like smut? Like good for them. I mean, is that a bad thing? How is that bad? I mean, you can make that assessment, but you have to explain it. Why is that a detrimental thing.
She got to it a little bit, but then didn't supply any real evidence for it. So
yeah, and I feel it because I don't think she's going to do that anymore. That we can just sort of end it there because it's just going to be, oh, sex is bad in this way and also bad. It's like, yeah, okay.
I don't think it's that black and white, but I do think she has enough apprehension about the topic to not go that deep into it. But I would like her to make a follow-up video where she does exactly what you said, present the top selling stories and explain how they're structured and their ratio of smut versus actual story.
Yep.
And how badly written it is. And I can, from the example I keep repeating because I think it scarred me, the second Dune trilogy. That is a perfect example of just badly written crap.
No more Dune, please.
I will make that video.
Make it, just don't talk about it. Okay.
As far as I know, though, this video got like a huge amount of attention. It got recommended to me, and I'd never seen anything from her channel before. I saw it on Twitter and such. So I'm guessing this did pretty well. So she probably should make a follow-up video to it and go into that kind of stuff. Right. Yeah. Ride the train while it's at the station, I guess, or whatever.
We can jump to the last 2 minutes, see if she has any closing statements, because I don't think we're going to get any further with data. It's just
I don't think we need to skip.
Oh, we can just stop right there.
No, I think we can just go on.
You guys want to keep going?
Unfortunately, I have to get going pretty soon.
Yeah, if you gotta go.
It's past midnight here.
Yeah, guys, we should call it a day. If Wisp, if you want to keep going, I'll go on with you tomorrow. It'll just be you and me, and we'll say goodbye to Aiden and LitDev. Thanks for your time, guys. We appreciate it.
It was fun.
Yeah, always nice to get differing opinions and more information because I'm not the smartest guy on this topic for sure. So really appreciate your input. Hope to see you again soon. And you have yourself a great Sunday. You guys are busy.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, let's close it there. Thank you guys for your time. We'll talk to you soon. Maybe we'll have like a short Smudcast before tomorrow because we have another video tomorrow.
Yeah, Chattymon's memes.
Oh no! You guys can go. I'll do the memes myself. All right, have a great night.
All right.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks for having me. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Later. Okay, we'll do the memes because I'm sure you guys had all kinds of R-rated content for me to get demonetized here. Where are we? So there's 3 memes. Alrighty. Oh, that's cool. Female fantasy. You have no personality, average looks, and make no effort at likability, but men are attracted to you anyway. Sure. Male fantasy. You're likely to die a horribly painful death. But you'll die fighting alongside your brothers for something greater than yourself. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. I think both are totally fine. I see no God up here other than me.
Not sure that relates.
There's always got to be one of those stupid things. I've been seeing them too often. What a horrible day for Canada and therefore the world. I don't.
Yeah.
Is Canada like the canary in the coal mine or something? Like, what do you?
One of many.
I don't think we have much influence in the world. So. Oh God. Long live the Queen. And I took that literally. After drinking gin and tonic every day for like 60 years.
Kept her together.
Inbreeding? What inbreeding? Yeah, I don't know. French monarchy exists. French revolutionaries, you have lost head privilege. Oh, good Lord. Okay, it's not a good look. But, yeah. Women's romance. I'm going to kill you. Harder, Daddy. Men's romance. Love me or I'll kill you. I can fix her. What? Is that a men's romance?
Yeah, but isn't that also the female fantasy?
Yeah, I thought that was a female. What's it called? Yandere?
Oh, isn't that the result of the feminization of men?
I don't know about that one. I thought that's a Yandere personality trope. Okay. Maybe. Succubus trying to take my baby? Oh my god. Which one's this?
I don't know.
I-
Might be interspecies reviewers?
No.
No?
Probably not.
It's a busty elf.
I know, it's so... I mean, you could put that anywhere. There it is. The internet's for porn. Thank you. If you're on the internet, you should be desensitized to it by now. It should not bother you. I married an incubus. Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's gonna have a lot of
I
sex.
think that fits exactly what she's talking about.
That would be the best. Yeah, that would be the greatest example. You got the cover, you got the topic. I mean, just 80. What is it, like 40% sex, 60% just everything else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Cover that one. Jesus is our only king. Not anymore.
Oh no, not Chuck Tingle.
The banana in my butt is a handsome lifeguard?
How's the guy real?
Is this a real book?
It's Chuck Tingle. Of course it's real.
Do I want to know who Chuck Tingle is?
You don't want to know who Chuck Tingle is, but you can look up his name anyway.
Okay. Chocolate. Yeah, that was a weird. The fourth slice of quadruple layer chocolate. I was like, what? Where do you order a quadruple layer chocolate cake? Fire is real. Okay. Look, it's Fire Today, our hero. I would never say that. Meta Knight, cartoon buffoon. Okay. Ha ha. But inside, you secretly long for a cold-hearted Republican to lower taxes, brutalize criminals, and rule you like a king.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a choice in some cases. You're going to have to be. Like in Canada.
If you want to survive.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Our new liberal PM is like, we'll just use the conservative platform like this entire year. Oh boy. Women calling Lizzo beautiful and inspiring. Women when you tell them they look like Lizzo, yeah. Don't look like Lizzo. Eat what you want, physical activity to a minimum. Once weekly Lizzo. Oh, jeez. Complaining about unrealistic depictions of women in video. Oh no, not those weird. That was the creepiest. Why they tried to animify their whatever.
Well, they always make themselves cute and more beautiful than they are.
Oh, God.
But you know, the joke is also that the joke drawing below is how leftists actually draw their propaganda. They always have this realistic, ugly style where everybody looks like a monster.
Is this true? Was Gamergate arguing with Feminist Frequency about the whole collective shout issue? Is that real?
I don't remember that.
Was that like 2 weeks ago or so? I don't remember.
No.
Yeah, it must have been like last month. I don't know. That's weird.
Is that channel still active?
Feminist Frequency? Who knows? Let's see what we got here. Ooh, this is thick. That's too long, guys. I'll read it myself. Ruby Dixon, fire in his kiss. Interesting. Okay. Hoarded by the dragon. Wow. What is this? The Dragon's Bride. Okay. Interesting.
Of course, it's an anthropomorphic muscle dragon.
Dino Stud? What? Jeez, that's what
we should have brought up these examples during the stream with the others.
These are like more than on the nose. Like, who made this artwork? Is that AI generated? Like these Tyrannosauruses in the background, guy with a cowboy hat, shirtless. You're like, oh my god. Let me read this. He tamed the thunder lizards, but could he tame his outlaw heart? No, but could she tame his outlaw heart? Wow, it writes itself. Wet, hot, Allosaurus summer. She was a country girl looking for excitement. He was an apex predator theropod. Is this for real? Come on, this is a joke, right? Hot dinosaur
There are tons
action.
of these on Smut. There are tons of these on Amazon.
I gotta see them. I gotta see them. Wet hot Allosaurus. Come
The great
on.
innocence. The great innocence of this show is that Smut is the most innocent man on this planet.
Yeah, but I know about like adult VN, all the genres and all the games you can get for free on GOG. Oh god, that's awesome! Holy Frog Jupiter, that is amazing. What you just those 5 images are just like wow.
Send them to LitDev. Smut.
Yeah, no, you cannot marry your first cousin. It will lead to
Homozygosity.
zygosity. Wow, which can increase the chances of your offspring being affected by deleterious or recessive traits. Ha ha, long jaw, go burr. Oh god.
It's pronounced U.
What puberty did to my friends? Love, boys. What puberty did to me? Wow. We must, for virtue's sake, wed back into the family to keep our blood untainted and pure from the unwashed masses. 1500. I don't know, sis. Rules was rules. 1600. Oh, God.
That eugenics program did not work.
Oh, God. Incest, keeping the royal bloodline pure. Yeah, well. What do we got here? We should stop abortions. You want to rape me. What? You want to imprison me and put me in a costume and have high-status men impregnate me. What? Panting. Their wives will hold my wrists while they drive. Yeah, time to leave. Oh, boy. Here's another one. Oh, no. Who's this from? Again from Prague Jupiter. Wow,
Oh,
you
no.
found all these. USA Today's best-selling author, C.M. Nascosta. A monster bait romance? Morning Glory Milking Farm.
And you thought Monster Girls were weird.
Milking Farm, I mean, imagine if I don't know who C.M. Nascosta, but if it was like a male-oriented story, like just the opposite would work still. The title would just be fine.
The opposite would make more sense.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, what the hell? A cow man? Like, holy hell. George Carlin on sex. Yeah, it's George Carlin. Everything is mate suppression. Frog Jupiter, I don't know how long that is. I'll watch that later.
What if this is usually long?
Bear is a novel by Canadian author Marion Engel, published in 1679. It won the Governor General's Literary Award the same year. It is Engel's 5th and her most famous novel. The story tells of a lonely archivist sent to work in northern Ontario, where she enters into a sexual relationship with a bear.
1976. You flipped the numbers.
I said 1970. Did I say 1997?
You said 1679.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having an aneurysm.
I don't think it makes any difference, though.
The shocking erotic novel of a woman in love in startlingly alive narrative of the forbidden, the unthinkable, the hardly imaginable. Yeah, because a bear would eat her. like one claw would kill her and then just eat the woman. That's how it would go.
A Canadian bestseller.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Winner of the Governor General.
What a cover image.
I thought it would be like Clan of the Cave Bear, like some prehistoric story about sex and violence and prehistoric man, Nope, it's literally...
We're gonna get them. Stop opening it. We're gonna get nuked.
Yeah. What we got here? Is that smut? Chapter whatever? I can't tell. Reading fan fiction, smut.
That's a bookmark.
And fluff. Fluff? What do you think goes on while drawing smut? But we know. It's very hard to draw anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Apologies, there is no smut here, brother. This is a check-in. Remember to stay hydrated and drink some water if you haven't already. Okay. This isn't a meme. It's porn. It's porn. It's porn. So if this is in fact porn, then we don't know what's happening beneath the headshots. We don't know what's going on there. Another frog Jupiter. Holy, you're on a fire here, sir. I think this is the right place to post this. Came across an ad while scrolling Facebook. Eden Rising, a dystopian novel, The Dark Sanctuary, Book 1. Women outnumber men 7-1, and no one can explain it. Oh, geez, we haven't heard that one before. Threatened by this mysterious phenomenon, the government impulsively passes new abortion laws and strips women of their rights. Meanwhile, 18-year-old Eve Malum watches...
Oh, no. What a dumb name.
Malum?
The apple.
Eve Apple?
Malum is the apple. It's also bad and erroneous. Guess why? Eve is also Hebrew for woman, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's the erroneous woman apple.
Yeah. Shade Owens, Eden Rising. Okay. After men declared war on women, the world fell apart. Oh, God. Sex. Now that we got your attention, vote for Bart. Oh, good. Bart named world's greatest sex machine. Homer sleeps nude in an oxygen tent, which he believes gives him sexual powers. I don't know what an oxygen tent is. I know what a hyperbolic oxygen chamber is.
I remember that scene.
An oxygen tent. What the hell is that?
No, that was the big defamation thing that the media laid on Homer after false sexual allegations against.
Oh, wow.
Man, the Simpsons already did that in the 90s.
When a low-budget porn has better costume than a high-budget show.
Mm-hmm.
See, now I gotta figure out which is which. I have no idea.
They're both.
TV show versus porn. I'm assuming the one on the left is like, they're in between takes, right? So she's just like standing around.
Yeah, but she also looks like crap in the show.
Is that the black one? The black girl that took over from Ruby Rose?
Oh yeah, right. It's the black one.
No.
So she looks even worse. Look, she's just a rectangle. She barely has any curves.
Don't they have frizzy hair, or was that the Titans show with was it Starfire? Yeah, the Starfire was a black chick with the red fuzzy hair. Okay.
That was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she does.
Because Starfire technically is a ginger, red hair, green eyes.
Alien, yeah. I read my first book talk, dark romance book, and this was what y'all blah 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 blah. Okay. Check it out later. Ironheart, an Ironheart we can all get behind. Oh, that's the porn Japan version, like from 20 years ago or whatever. Right? Yep, that's the porn one. Not the actual.
Looks too young.
Japanese girls, you never know. You can never tell.
Japanese girls can have D cups. Come on.
I'm not saying they can't, but their face looks very young. You can't tell how old they're.
Yeah, but we don't judge that by the face. We
okay. That's it.
Tend to go by body development.
That's the meme. That was just you having a chronic porn addiction. Oh God. Here we go. Sexual history, epic and private.
Correct answer.
Is that the one where she asks him how much do you drink? And he goes, 1. He goes, well, you have 1 drink a day? No, I have 1 shelf a week or something like that. Something silly like that. When Tiger Woods feels invincible, he wears a red shirt and black pants. Ron wears the same thing after he's had sex.
Is Ron the actual template for Omni-Man?
I don't think so. That would be funny. if it were. Wicked Comics. Captain Marvel and Axel Braun. Oh, XX. Oh, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
She looks attractive. I mean, she looks better than what we got, but that's not a high bar, but she looks really good.
That suit leaves nothing to the imagination on purpose.
Well, you want, like Superman, you want the thing to be tight, and it pretty much is like...
Yeah, not that tight.
Well, okay, but...
Like that suit goes inside.
with the Snyder version of Superman's suit, it's like underwear, yeah. There you go. How do you write women so well? I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability. Women, accountability. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make major motion pictures. I make crap. Oh my God, who the hell cares? Well, she obviously does because she was a writer and she was complaining about writing, so it makes sense. Sarah... Oh, this is one of her books.
Best-selling author.
Fans of Game of Thrones and The Hunger Games will love it. Exactly, this is the thing. Throne of Glass. So she knew her audience. It was geared towards women, and women also like politics. Women also like interpersonal problems and kingdoms fighting each other, and there you go. It was as if she were in a redwood forest of penises.
Yeah, that's the South Park episode where Mr. Garrison explains exactly this type of writing and why he's so good at it.
Hey, what was my first word? Well, whoa, ay caramba. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I promise I won't get all political. 3 drinks later, King Dedede is a fictional character, and the primary antagonist in King Dedede is the self-proclaimed king of Dreamland and the arch enemy of Kirby.
And friend.
The best porn written by men. Why does that look so familiar? If only I could read Japanese. What's this one? Sunstone. I don't know what that is. Looks Western. Empowered. Adam Warren. No idea. What's this? No, that's not porn. What the fuck? Is it?
That looks cute.
Is it Dojin? Is it Dojin of Neon Genesis? Could be. There's so much of it. I'm sure there's one.
There are Dojin.
Yeah.
They're not great.
Did Fourth Wing earn its popularity? Okay, fair. That's probably what Aiden was talking about. Officer, that's him. He looked up Serana's mods or Serana Mod 5 on Lovers. What? Oh, these are mods for Skyrim. Okay. I understand.
The looties.
Yeah. When sex time? What? Okay. She's like underneath the tonkatsu, and she's just like just waiting. Big Boof Elf mentioned. Yeah, was that the same? Yeah, it's the same girl.
That's the same one.
Amber Heard might be joining OnlyFans 3 years after the Depp trial. Good luck.
Isn't she getting a bit old for that?
You never know. She's still attractive. What do we got here? Male horse fantasy. What is that?
Uma Musume. The anime that the horse riding sport financed in order to make people addicted to horse riding again and betting.
Well, and
it works.
That ended up being a very good game, I heard. I never...
It's a gacha game, and that's also an anime, which is amazingly well animated.
I watched the first 2 episodes. I was like, it's fine. If you like, what is it? A bunch of girls competing to race. That's about it.
Yeah, and apparently it teaches the history of horse riding.
Oh my!
Don't get lured into it.
Female horse fantasy is time for your daily milking. So what the? Jesus.
Yeah, that game existed too. I forgot the name.
Ugh.
I want to keep forgetting it.
Let's see the female fantasy. Good lord. No thanks. What we got here? The same author.
Wasn't it also Hatoful Boyfriend?
Oof, beats me. I'm a
Or was
strong.
that only Birds?
I'm a strong, independent woman, but I still want the guy to make the first move. Yep. I contracted genital warts. Why I'm not ashamed? What?
Oh, okay. You have to look. This is all the same authoress, and we have to sort these by the month. They're all from 2016. So first we have May
Okay.
on the right, top
Yep,
right,
Yep.
and then June 3. That's both on the left.
Another one on June 3rd. Same year. Why I cheated after swearing I net. Wow.
I wonder where you got the warts from.
So warts, I want a guy to make the first move on the same day she cheated. So she's in the process of cheating because you can't just have
While she already has the warts.
Well, obviously, if she's saying she wants another guy.
And now you know how these things spread.
And then December of the same year, seriously, why can't I find a decent man?
Well, because they're all pissed that you gave them genital warts.
And cheated on them. That's amazing. That's amazing. This is so amazing. I want to save this. This is great. All right. What else we got here? I'll have a generic isekai. How original. The MC has already gathered his harem by the 3rd episode. Daring today, aren't we? You know what? That would be good because then you don't have to worry about any of the romantic crap happening later on. You just get it all done with. Finish it off. Get on with the story. I like boobies. Okay.
Honest and natural.
It's just completely straightforward, yeah. All right. That was good. And we could finish it off tomorrow if you really want. We could do it Monday. It doesn't matter to me.
Maybe Monday, because we already had something in the pipe for tomorrow.
Okay. That's fine. Whew. Alrighty. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. I can't remember what we're doing tomorrow, but we'll definitely have a video because we have to figure out when to get everyone scheduled for this video. So we are done at 26:56. Let me write that down. Good times. All right. Well, have yourself a great weekend. It's pretty humid here in Toronto, so I hope you guys got some air conditioning going or the windows open. Go for a walk, get lots of water. Try not to bloat yourself, try not to dehydrate yourself. Just take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good evening.
Enjoy the weather. Go into the forest. Good night.
It's a horrible idea. What are you talking about?
What? Forest walks are amazing.
You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to...
What?
You're going to get all these birds.
Don't you wear shoes?
Well, not to go into the forest. I mean, that's kind of over the top, don't you think?
No, it's very German.
Well, you need boots.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody does it like me.
Well, boots and shoes are two different things. Don't wear shoes.
Well, I go send sandals or barefoot, but...
Oh my